Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours. How y'all doing? Hey, Mackin. Mach 10. Welcome, everybody. Let's get to the office real quickly. Hello, my name is Paul, Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. As always, this is the Office Hours. This is a live stream that I do on Thursdays, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern, usually. I'm a little late today, where we talk about the latest news and lore updates for Star Citizen. We hang out and talk if you want to, ask questions for myself and chat, come and have a discussion about Star Citizen, its status, its future, theory craft, and sometimes other stuff as well. And join us live. So that's why it's so long if you're watching this after the fact. Jimmy, Corbin, Outlaw, TheAstroPub, welcome everybody. Let me make sure some stuff is updated though. I don't think I have turned on the chat bot. There we go. So I'll pull up this real quick. So for those of you who follow me a lot, you'll know that Metagen. You'll know that the other thing I do is I paint minis, and I actually got some time this week to paint some minis. This is all stuff from like last week that I just didn't get to show off. Here we go. Working through my guard. Slowly but surely. Doing some specialists. I've got 3 out of 5 rattling, not rattlings, but they're rattling stand-ins, substitutes. How y'all doing? Hey, Night Cobb. They're very tiny. How do you think selling ships and vehicles that people have pledged for will work once that's in game? In particular, how about selling a G12 that is included with a 6-die package? Are you talking about like in game, like selling it to somebody else? I don't think you will be able to. I'm doing good there, Nikub. I don't think you'll be able to sell in-game. No, I don't think you'll be able to sell stuff in-game that you've purchased with real cash. Hey, Cupin. Cupin. Joseph, how you doing? 89, how you doing? Do I think we'll see FPS radar in 2023 or ship radar rework? Yes, but not in the way you hope. My guess is that we'll see it for... Imperial Men will eventually fall for the grid. Well, I've actually been playing Tau in my Crusade setup, the narrative Crusade that we have that I'm going with my wife and I have been doing every Monday, so... And learning how to play the Tau, which is they are very dangerous with their suits, but everything else is very squishy. But I think we'll see radar, FPS radar, and a radar rework for ships by the end of this year in 4.0. But I don't think 4.0 is coming out this year. So I think we'll see it in like Evocati or PTU right before the break, and then they'll leave it in PTU and then release it again like they did for 3.18 in like March of next year. Happy Thursday, Paul. Priming some Imperial Fists and Old World Dwarf Minis currently. Happy Warhammer. Nice. Congratulations, Samwise. Yeah, I've got, like I said, I got to get through my Imperial Guard. I've got Imperial Guard stuff to get through. And then after my Imperial Guard, I have, I've got a Blood Bowl team to paint. And then I have Night Haunt. I've got some Night Haunts, so I'm getting into AOS, so. I love Tau. I have a small Tau armor myself for the one getting back into gaming again. Well, 10th edition was just announced yesterday. And they announced 10th edition saying that the core rules were free. And they're doing indexes again like they did at the beginning of 8th. So all of the army rules will be free at launch. And then they'll release codexes over time to probably fill that stuff out. So it's a good time. Good time to get back in. Logan! Thank you so much for that raid. Welcome everyone from Logan Stream. My name's Paul, Berserker01. Batman Shirley, your humble host and space bartender here at the end of the universe. Starts the AstroPub. What's up? How you doing, buddy? We're just talking about some other stuff. Boarding action is the best starting point for 40k right now, except for it is, but except for the terrain sucks ass. It's super, super, like, expensive. That's something. Thank you so much for giving that sub to Senalive, by the way. Apparently you've been stuck here for 40 months. Woo! 40 months there, huh? What are we playing tomorrow? It's up to you, Loken. I'm always good to, like, they did a bunch of updates to Darktide, so I'm always good to going back to Darktide. I'm good at doing some Star Citizen. You know what? Let's do a little Danktide. All right, let's do some Danktide tomorrow. So yeah, but we're gonna start. Loken and I are gonna try to start doing some from Friday co-op streams. We just kind of hang out and play some games, not just Star Citizen, other games as well. So we'll do that. So 2 sets when you're done. Yeah, but it's $75 a set. Is still $150, which is a lot of money. Hey, thank you so much for that. Oh, I should probably... What am I doing? The heck? All right, it's doing that thing again. Where it's like kind of going off. There we go. I'll turn it back on. Everything should be back on. I don't want to hear it when you play Star Citizen in 40k. Well, you can play Star Citizen for $45. And when you're trying to get new people in, new people are going to balk at a price of $150 for terrain. Have I played Deep Rock Galactic? Nova, have you never heard that story? So for those of you who have played Deep Rock Galactic, by the way, Logan, that's one of the games we're going to have to play at some point. But I actually was one of the first people to publicly play it, and I played it with the devs at an official demonstration event at GDC in 2016 or 2015. I think it was 2015. Maybe 2016. One of those two GDCs, whichever one that was. So yeah, I've played Deep Rock Galactic. Deep Rock Galactic, Loken. It's Left 4 Dead, but you're squats, you're space dwarves, mining ore and fighting off bugs. It is a secret 40k game where you play as you play as squats fighting Tyranids to get resources. Yeah, chat. I'll do a poll. All right. All right. We're on this for 5 minutes, starting the poll. So it's on Twitch. Put it up there. Thank you, UK dude, for your generous dropping of freaking 10 gift subs. And UK dude for the 1,000 biddies. Thank you. And GRDMJ for that 26 months of support. Holy balls, there's so many people. Rockin' stone to the bone. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the tractor beam stuff. It's pretty cool. You just got your second Woody T HE for the office, so much better than the old Woody ones, game changing and all that. Oh, yeah, it's pretty good. Unfortunately, I spilled soda on the one you got me a while back as we were moving to the house, the new home, so I had to get a new one. Beam citizen, reject immersion, embrace the beam. Beam should the poll should be at the very top of the chat. So. Do you think, based on today's video, that development of the SRV has gained traction? Yes. Yes, I do. Because, let me put it this way. The SRV is done. It was in final evaluation. It was in a go, no-go launch as of last month. As of March, or as of February. So, it's done. Like, it's waiting for gameplay is all it's doing. It's in Vulture mode. How do you feel about them calling you out at the end of ISC about Beam Citizen? Do I have to explain how I'm right? How I called it Beam Citizen, and I said it was Embrace Beam Citizen? Because it's how the game gets made, and how at the end of ISC, CIG agreed with me. But where are ship tractor beams? They talked about it in this week's ISC. It doesn't take a genius there, Ghost. Local Drama strikes again. It doesn't take a genius to know that the reason why they're using beams is because game development is very thrifty. You reuse fucking everything. You got to reuse as much as you possibly can, because just quite frankly, if you don't, you're going to end up with a lot of. You're going to end up with a lot of weird stuff. Like you're going to end up with, or not weird stuff. You're going to end up with some hard to create gameplay loops. So you'll hear that, like, people say, oh, all these lazy developers reusing assets. It's like, because it's easier, and creating an asset bespoke is fucking hard and takes for fucking ever, and then can break halfway through, when you could just use the same thing you already made and maybe update it a little and toss it back in. So it was a brilliant, very game dev vet call to turn everything into a beam, because it's simple, it's easy, it's sci-fi, you can mostly ride around it, and it works. Yeah, besides they were cool. The end of the burger was hilarious. I don't know what was happening, but I loved it. Oh, that animation? Yes, I need to turn that into a sub animation. The expectation that a lot of people had, and again, I love Star Citizen fans, but they have some weird expectations for things, which is, like, I had heard people legitimately say they wanted something to the effect of Hand Simulator or Surgeon Simulator for, like, actual battlefield surgery. Or to, like, procedurally wrap an arm that's been bullet damaged with bespoke animations. Like, no. And by people, he means Tree. I don't think even Tree was that insane. Tree wants more depth, but he knows better not to go that fucking insane. Yeah, basically, they want the game to never be finished. It's just a lot of people with the immersion crowd that was just like, it ruins my immersion because it's just gamification where you could be using. It's like, you could be using what? Oh, okay. So out of 15 votes, chat has decided that we're playing Deep Rock Galactic tomorrow there, Loken, which I'm okay with. Rock and stone, yes, to the bone. Did someone say rock and stone? Rock and stone, or go home. For Carl! Yes. Who's a driller and who's a scout? I haven't played Deep Rock in so long that I have no idea. Am I going to play Kerbal Space Program 2 on Steam? Yeah, probably towards the summer, after it gets a couple updates in. You bought this PC a year after Star Citizen Livestream 1. I'm now about to replace it. This one better be able to play Squadron 42. If it's brand new, it should probably play Squadron 42. Did you hear Little Orbit is going to release STFU? What? What? What are you talking about, UK? Oh, ships that fly underground. Yes. Who's Little Orbit? Is that still the team? Is that that is something different? AstroPub, are you going to play Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun? Sure, when it comes out. I don't know when it's coming out though. Never played Deep Rock Galactic, currently enjoying Ace Combat 7. Deep Rock Galactic is very cartoony, but it's about space dwarves fighting bugs to get resources. It's Left 4 Dead. Oh, they're the publisher that screwed over Wingman. Okay. I had them reach out and offer me a code to play it. and I was like, I didn't respond because I didn't know if Wingman was still attached or not. Yeah, Deep Rock Galactic is Starship Troopers, but less depressing with dwarves. Are you going to go to CitizenCon? Yes, I will be going to CitizenCon. And do you know when tickets go on sale? Probably next month, would be my guess. KSP2 is my biggest disappointment currently, and with Take-Two being at the top, I'm not hopeful. We'll see. KSP2 got an update last Friday, and apparently it did pretty well. It was a pretty decent update for fixing a lot of the issues. But I haven't tried it since then. I've just been doing other things. Don't I still owe you a first-class ticket to CitizenCon? I mean, if you want to, I'll probably take it. I'll probably buy it myself, but it's all right. I think it was. Oh, because it's in LA. Hi all. Hope everyone's well. I'm doing good. How you doing there, Sam? Sam at war. Okay, that's up to you there, UK. If you're cool, I'll let you know. You're cool with it. All right, so let me do this real quick. Just run a quick ad. Give everyone here some stuff for that, and then I'm going to pull up the video for ISC this week. So this was a very, very cool video this week.
Tractor beams have been a staple of science fiction for almost 100 years. They go all the way back to the work of Amazing Stories magazine and E.E. Smith's classic Spacehounds of IPC, the serials of 1931. They're a metaphor for all of science fiction in that they look to extend our reach beyond what's physical and bring that which we can only imagine closer and within our grasp. And while tractor beam gameplay are...
Did I play Diablo? No. No. I'm if I wanted to play something to distraction me, I've got a lot of other things I can play to distract me right now.
Already has a presence in the persistent universe. Work is currently underway bringing its full potential into the hands and spacecraft of the Stanton system, with the next step forward happening in the upcoming Alpha 319.
Woo! We have to just to make this observation. We have to just stay away from keep all novas as far away from Space Cutlet and Aurelia as possible. Because they have an instinctual desire to use tractor beams to steal tanks. I'm making a joke, topical joke.
The current state of the tractor beam is already in a really fun and fitting state. Especially when the tractor beam was released, people got really creative with stacking boxes, creating obstacles for each other, or coming up with very interesting ideas of systemic multiplayer action, like who can destroy the ship and steal as many boxes, like team versus team.
Hey, Dead Ringer, thanks for that member stuff.
Member for 2 months. Objects as harm, so snap them on someone else's person head, and then make them the minimum unconscious. So tractor beams in live game currently are able to move cargo crates onto your cargo grid. So it's fitting the concept of you having a handgun that can do the box interactions, and there's still the grapple mechanic that you can use. So you can pull yourself towards ships or towards bigger objects, heavier objects, to traverse a bit easier.
I like the skiing there
in 0G. The limitations are that it is very, it cannot interact with any items yet. It's just there for boxes, for unconscious bodies or dead bodies.
Do you intend for it to be for unconscious bodies?
I think it's intended to be for unconscious bodies, yes.
Corpse for the corpse grinders.
So where do we want to take tractor beams? We would like to introduce more.
Yeah, there's a lot of whole C and whole A's.
Variances to the FBS tractor beam that you're seeing. So right now,
just for those you don't know, the whole C is effectively finished. They would have probably already released it if they had gameplay for it. It's in Squadron, which is why they did the overhaul. But like they're doing like detail stuff right now. And it's like they're dragging it because there's just no reason to put it out there. It is like the SRV in that it's likely going to get vultured, and that's the term I'm going to use from now on, which is vultured, meaning it is finished before the gameplay is finished, so they're not going to release it until it's finished.
Now you only have the multi-tool that has the tractor beam attachment, so we would like to have a dedicated tool, maybe even upgraded version to the tractor beam attachment, so you might have heavier lifting tractor beam attachment for the multi-tool. So we would really like to dive into more meaningful itemization for the tractor beam and basically have it believable that you have a big tractor beam to move like very heavy and very big objects, rather than you just have your tiny handgun that you move like 36 square cubic meter boxes around or something like that. There's also the tractor beam in regards to the Salvage gameplay. So you have on the Salvage ships, like the Reclaimer and the Vulture, you have the functionality to pull in debris. And then in the future, once the Salvage feature is progressing, you will be able to munch those pieces and create like additional resources out of that. For vehicle tractor beams, there are basically two things that we would like to see. There's the concept of remote turrets. So something that its full purpose is to basically help the systems that the ship itself has. For example, on the Starfarer, a tractor beam that is able to...
They don't say this, but they practically confirm that they're working on, if not prototyping already, saddlebags being detachable.
Bring in the mining pods from the prospector, or detach the fuel pods from the fuel pod socket, so you could exchange them, or for example for the hull variances, that you have a remote tractor beam that is able to detach the cargo boxes from the basically cargo holding plates on the hull series ships. And then there's additionally the concept of the not remote tractor beam, but
they mentioned a date yet for 3.18.1 other than ASAP? Nope. They said they want to try to get it this week. I wouldn't be surprised if it dropped on Friday, but if it doesn't make it this week, I couldn't tell you.
The fully like ship-driven tractor beam, if so to say, which is more the active one. So best example there is the SRV, for example, that has its full purpose to be to tow ships. So you basically have a stranded ship that you attach to and then move around. But what
so
we
sexy.
also want to have there is...
That's the SRV. It's basically done. That is a finished ship.
Some ships might have an indirect remote turret or indirect remote version of a tractor beam, which is more the, let's say, aggressive version. So it's more in combat scenario. You have a situation that someone tries to flee, and you just use the tractor beam to hold that person in place, so that
Fire in the Sky reference, I get that.
This person cannot escape, and you can actually pull it in to grab your bounty. An additional feature that
using tractor beams to tractor bounty targets. I wouldn't be surprised if they have tractor beams used as holding techniques. Like you can use a tractor beam to like an industrial tractor beam. You can fire it at someone to slow them down, or to literally like pull them in instead of using like grappling hooks or something like that.
We also see in the future is combining the beams. So you are able to, like, not only one player, once it attaches to a box, that only that player is able to move the box, but like have maybe people targeting the same box and fighting over the box, or even like the body, and then being able to move that around. Maybe even the FPS devices are so big that it is like you at least could be able to grab a small Aurora or Nox or something small. So it's like it makes sense that you are able to grab that tiny vehicle or tiny ship.
That boy got some grip.
With the future being somewhere out there,
All
let's
right.
actually talk about what we have in plan for 319. We are actually working on the entire tractor beam thing in regards to the SRV. But one thing that we noticed while working on it is that we actually have one thing that we could split out and actually bring to you a bit earlier than anticipated. And this feature is basically item stripping. So you detach.
So for those of you who don't know, this is Salvage. This is component salvage. Back when they announced hole stripping to be like Salvage 0 or whatever, back in June of last year, me and a lot of other people said, oh, so salvage is coming in 318. And a lot of people said, it's not really salvage, it's hole stripping. And so I asked, all right, well, what's the actual definition of salvage? And a lot of people said, when you can remove components from the ship, that's actual salvage. So that's coming in 319. This is just sneaky salvage is all it is. And I do want to see how many people move the goalposts again. It's not really salvage until you get hole munching. It's like, come on. Hey Nick, how you doing, buddy?
Attach items from certain ports, or you.
Thanks for the raid there. Hey, it's Nick. Welcome, everybody. I'm Paul. This is the AstroPub. We're looking at this new thing. So come joining us.
Like riddles that are done by the level design teams.
Once the vehicle is soft dev or unlocked, you're gonna be able to, with a tractor beam, find all the good guns and modules like shield generators or life supports or whatever. Detach them, put them on your ship, or put them in your cargo hold, and sell them later, or use them.
So you will use your multi-tool, the very buffed version of the multi-tool, to be detaching those weapons where there is a new weight limit that the multi-tool can now exceed. There's a new volume that the multi-tool can now exceed to allow you to detach at least like a majority of the items. There might be items hidden behind walls that for sure you will not be able to detach from their socket, but all the items that are visible, and especially the internal components that are size 0, size 1, and size 2, you will be able to detach from their socket. And if you have a spare, for example, sitting around next to you, you can even exchange them. If you have a shield generator and you notice for the situation that I'm right now in, it's not good enough, so you can.
Rifle size handheld tractor beams confirmed, but I predict there will be mining, salvage, and repair modules for the device. No, they're actually separate. There might be modules, but we've seen separate tools. Like there is a rifle sized salvage tool. So it may just be the big brother of the pyro tool, which is different attachments, or they might be entirely different bespoke tools. Last I saw, they were entirely different bespoke tools, because the salvage one is actually got like a link. It's got like a hose that links to a backpack, so that you actually use it to like strip holes, and it fills up a backpack full of stuff. I imagine that it's probably that, and that's like a salvage / repair, and then you have one that's like a mining version, or you may not even have a mining version. So that kind of thing. I could beam you in warm, or I could beam you in cold.
You can take your multi-tool, grab it, pull it out of the socket.
Is that the spirit?
And grab the other one that in. It's not good enough, so you can take your next to you, cut all the items
that's
that
the
are
freelancer
visible, and especially the internal components that are size 0, size 1, and size 2. You will be able to detach from their socket, and if you have a spare, for example, sitting around next to you, you can even exchange them. If you have a shield generator,
I don't know if that's a spirit.
For
it might
the situation that I'm right now in, it's not good enough, so you can take your multi-tool, grab it,
definitely the vulture,
pull it out of the socket, and grab the other one that you have, which might be suiting for the situation better, and then just pop it in, and voila, you just changed your shield generator on the fly.
Oh, it's definitely
For
Crusader,
weapons,
but
since they're
I
on
don't
the
know.
outside, we allow you to detach any.
Now we see a Redeemer in its natural habitat, busted as shit and being stripped for parts.
Weapon that matches the metrics. So I think right now the biggest that you can pop out of the socket are size 5 or size 6. Depends a bit on the shape.
And its weapons are put on a Drake ship. How appropriate.
Because we have different masses and different volumes for the different shapes of the different types that we have. So it's a bit dependent there, but what is important to us on the tractor beam are synergies. And what synergies we have is,
I hope we get bigger crates to store all this stuff. We may not get that for 318. It's going to happen shortly after that, but you can just toss them in your cargo bay and they'll stay in the cargo bay, like any kind of free floating cargo. It can't be that easy, can it? Yeah, it is. There's actually, he talks about this later, but there's actually a locking mechanism where you can lock all of your components so no one can get access to it until you're soft death, and then they can pull it off because it unlocks everything. And you can then select a mode and unlock it, and then you'll be able to remove the components once you've done that. So
we will have with this feature a way to restock yourself. Like not restocking with physical ammunition, like you have.
This IC is pandering to Paul and Paul alone. Listen. This is one of my favorite things that I've talked about this feature for literal years now. This is something I've hoped to see in the game for a while. But you know what this also means? It means that we can finally carry spare missiles for the fucking ballista and in situ reload the ballista. Ballistas are now permanent installations as long as you have enough missiles that are stored around you. Yeah, this is going to change something. This is logistics. This means that you can carry a Freelancer Max and come down and then pull out, buy a bunch of missiles. Hopefully be able to buy a bunch of missiles. Pull them into a Freelancer Max, land a ballista, bring down your Freelancer Max, unload all the missiles next to your, or in a arms depot, like a missile depot, as it were. And then you can just start reloading all your missiles once you've used them all. Logistics, baby. Logistics.
From your ballistic cannons, but at least from missiles.
You can potentially find a ship that's soft-dead or fully destroyed that has the same type of missile, and you can grab those missiles, attach to your own ship, and use them in the future fight.
In a multi-crew scenario, you can have a friend sitting around with their Cutlass Black full of missiles, and you just take it out of their backside and refill your ship.
So you can just replace missiles on the fly. You can have a logistics team that just sits in in some sort of forward operating base. Ships come back in, you can refuel, you can repair, and you can rearm them now. Repair is not great, but it's still minor repair, and refueling is not perfect, but you still have the option with a Starfarer. So while it's not perfect and ideal, it is still possible to do this, especially in a rural area. The Redeemer is the equivalent of the A-10 Warthog. No. The Starfighter. The Ares is the equivalent of the A-10 Warthog. The Redeemer is supposed to be more like something like a Hind D, which is terrible, but because it's not a Hind D. We all need this ability to reload guns, and we'll have the basic uses of drone. Yeah. I mean, the real question is, how will we get floating cargo into inventory screens so that server doesn't hold them live? The real question is, how will we get this floating cargo into the inventory screens? What do you mean inventory screens? You now take it, and just like the little highlights when you drop the the like cargo boxes in a cargo bay, you could just highlight the pylon for the missiles and stuff like that. So
with Pyro, obviously, it would be much more interesting because there's like a more limited shop supplies and all of that. But even right now, it's like a pretty valuable option because a lot of those components are actually pretty expensive.
What we also will allow you to do is like strip the items off alive.
Oh God, I forgot about that. What you can do at Jumptown now is fight and have a team whose sole job is to go out and scavenge the ruins, the wreckage of ships, pull out guns and missiles and other options, and then reuse them for your ships when you need to refuel or repair and rearm. And also, whatever you have left over, you can sell. Dear God. This is almost like a tiny gameplay loop.
Ships, but to prevent other players from randomly stealing the items, we will lock that behind a certain functionality. So right now the discussion is
sell the missiles if you have them.
Unlock key binding that you press, and then you basically allow the items to be detached from their socket. So you press the button, and then anyone in your ship or anyone around the ship can then detach the items, either use them on a different ship, on the same ship again, or sell them for profit.
During the Go No Go, there was like a comment that it is a potential exploit if the parts are too expensive. The exploit is that you can spawn your own ship, claim it, and then sell the parts of it, and then reclaim it, and then kind of do this loop. It would be counted as a crime right now, I think, but it's like, up to debate. So that's something that's being discussed right now.
There's also the synergy with, which ties in very nicely with the mining update that we have been talking about already last time, which is like you can exchange the mining head on the fly. Not only the mining head you will be able to detach and attach, but also the sub-items attached to the mining head. So if you have, for example, a brand module that just depleted and you have a spare one with you, just grab your tractor beam, pull it out of the cargo hold and attach it again to the mining head. So you restocked your brand module, for example. Not only we have the synergy now for the mining, but also for refueling. So if you have a Starfarer that has fuel pods and they are empty, and you just stumbled over an NPC or another player that has a fully...
So when you show the ship, the floating cargo goes into local inventory. It should with PES. With 318, anything you have inside your ship saves inside the ship.
Like filled Starfarer, you either negotiate to buy one of their fuel pods to get it over.
Negotiate with bullets. This part's
ship,
great.
Or you find another way to actually get the fuel pod with the fuel inside and attach it to your Starfarer, and voila, you have a Starfarer that is now able.
You can literally reattach the fuel pods. And this is all 319. Like all of this stuff is working for 319. Dear God.
To refuel other players without you paying any.
Which tells me that they have to have detachable saddlebags. This has to be part of this update. The CIG needs to clarify that for sure.
Money for the fuel that maybe you paid a bit of money for it to be attached to your ship.
We also have some quality of life stuff. So if you have a gun and you move your mouse left, right, the gun will rotate this way always. Before, rotating was very tricky. Now it's a bit more intuitive, at least from my perspective.
Because we also did Salvage with the same concept as we did mining with the sub-items and so on.
Yeah, all this was waiting.
You will also be able to detach the sub-items on the Salvage head or the Salvage head in the future itself and exchange the modules as you like and as needed.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, I say you doubt that, but here, let me go back here and show you that they already have. This is a visualization, so it could not be that case. But how different is the freaking the right one. There you go. This.
bring in the mining pods from the prospector or detach.
I mean, how different is that from the fuel stuff? So
now it's a bit more intuitive, at least from my perspective.
Because we also did salvage with the same concept as we did mining with the sub-items and so on. Yes, you will also be able to detach the sub-items on the salvage head or the salvage head in the future itself and exchange the modules as you like and as needed. So this is the next step we will take with the tractor beam for 319. And there are more to come. What I'm personally looking forward to the most is how it actually ties in with all the other systems. And I think that is also the most
Starfire's not gonna be refined
joy
already.
that I already get with this release for 319, which is how it already well interacts with the refueling that we did, with the mining update, because there we talked about how important it is now that the items are fitting the rocks, and now it is like even in our QATR or in our internal playstations, we now have a fully stacked Cutlass Black with all the mining heads there, and we just swap them out regularly, and it's really fun. It feels like this is how it's supposed to be, and it's not anymore like this weird like menu gameplay. It's like real, it's physical. You have your tractor beam in your hand, you have the item lying in front of you, you pull out the item from the socket and you attach the new one. So I'm really looking forward to what you will come up with. So
embrace the beam. Beam citizen there, Crucible. Embrace it.
right now we are not trying to limit it too much. We might reconsider that once we see.
Oh! They stole my goddamn tires! You can't have shit in Stanton these days.
You like bringing havoc to our game, but for now, yeah, once 319 is out there, be creative, destroy the world, whatever.
So what did we learn this week? Well,
Okay, I'm gonna back up a little bit. Look at that. Look at Disco dancing. He's a robot. Sorry, I want to do this so I can see the screen for today. The screen for this one is definitely reference to Lady and the Tramp, which I love. It's great. No, it's spaghetti. It's Lady and the Tramp. Isn't the Vulture? It's supposed to have its own tractor beam and specialized salvage and repair. I think it's something like that. It might have it. I don't remember if that's the case. I know that the Cutlass does. So, no, I know the best part's coming up. But what did you say, Jacob? That made you roasted you.
Well, we learned that tractor beams will add additional functionality to the salvage gameplay that came online in Alpha 3.18, as well as new mining improvements arriving in 3.19. That its scope will continue to expand into better cargo and vehicle options in the releases beyond that. And that now is definitely the winter of our Torsten content. Because he's done like 3 episodes in 5 weeks. 4 if you count SCL. I owe that guy a beer. 2 for the bad Shakespeare pun I just did. And remember, for continuing updates on the post-launch status of Alpha 3.18, keep an eye on the robertspaceindustries.com website for details. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week.
You've seen people say that we rely too heavy on beam gameplay.
Why you gotta call me out on this? Why you gotta call me out on this there, Disco?
Everything's a beam.
Oh, yeah.
Salvage is a beam.
Yeah.
Mining is a beam.
Actually, we internally joke
Movie
about
is a fucking beam. What do you say to people who say that we're beam citizen?
Yes, you are Beam Citizen. Also, I don't know what's
They are
going on.
right.
Yes. Justification, vindication, embrace the beams.
Use it.
I love it. Oh no, you're 100% right there, Fisher. We just need a we already have the Atlas system. We just need a flatbed version with a cargo truck that can carry a 32 SCU cargo container. That's it. We just need that, and we're done. And I would be happy. It would be a very happy pubber, a very pissed pubber for that one. Beams, they just work, chat. They just work. Embrace Beam Citizen. Fun enough, for those of you who've been following a lot of this stuff, I can't remember the name of the system, but the infamous HIMARS is actually part of a multiple bed system that can be swapped, that's modular, can be swapped out into different like modules on its back. The HIMARS system itself is just the multiple rocket version of it. It also has a transport version. It's like a fuel version. It has like a bunch of other different versions that exist as well, which is what the Atlas is heavily based off of, is that system, because it's been around, the United States military for a long time. It's been pretty, or maybe not even just the United States, might have been NATO military, so it's pretty popular. So that makes sense. CIG confirmed the beam kissing. I don't know what we saw there, but I want more of it, CIG. It sucks a lot, but it really works, so I'm okay with it. I don't think it sucks. I think it's great. I think it's perfect because it fits the sci-fi aesthetic. It allows for CIG to make the game in this decade, like to like further like finish it. Hey, Victoria, how you doing? That picture never arrived, by the way. I checked my box and it never showed up. Yeah. Yeah, I went there and I said, hey, I have a package? Like, no. I'll have to I'll check them again and tell them to look back again. I hardly check my P.O. box because no one ever sends me stuff. So it's filled with junk and it gets filled up pretty quickly. I've been thinking about having a P.O. box that then forwards from my P.O. box to my actual address, but I don't know if that's legal or possible. Yeah, it's in the comments. It's in the if you're watching me on Twitch, it's in the there's a box down below which has my P.O. box. And then if you're watching me on YouTube, there's also a little thing for a P.O. box. So if you want to send me shit, you can. Please don't send me bombs. I like the people who work at the post office there. They're nice. But if you want to send me bags of dicks, that's fine too. So with components becoming interactive, will we have separate physical storage for those? Yeah, they'll physically store on your ship, like anything you put randomly on the ship. It's important to note that with PES, your stuff that's in just loosely like arranged in your ship's cargo bay will save. Your ship's status will save between gameplay sessions, and even if the game crashes, anything that was on your ship should be saved in that last iteration. So. What, bag of dicks? Have you never seen Ship a Dick? You can forward PO to your home? Oh, I'll probably do that then. I'll talk to the post office and see if I can get to that. But will there be places like a freight elevator we can keep components in? Yeah, it's called the persistent hangar. You'll have a persistent hangar that you can store components and stuff in. That's not like 319, but it's this year. And the freight elevator is a thing that they're working on right now. Cargo elevators. It's on the progress tracker, the persistent hangars are. They may have removed it and put on persistent habs, but that maybe, I don't remember that exactly though. Is this live? No, Tom Bear, this is pre-recorded. Isn't that right, chat? Everyone in chat right now is actually a bot. They're all this entire thing is run by ChatGPT, and I myself am just an AI recreation. Paul's a VTuber. You know, I have actually thought about what. It's not going to be this April because I don't have any money, but I've actually thought about doing a for April Fools, getting myself a full VTuber. It's not anything fancy. It's just me as a VTuber, and do a full VTuber stream for April Fools as a joke. What does V stand for? Video or virtual is what VTuber stands for. It's like virtual tuber. So a VTuber is someone who uses, a lot of them will use like, you know, FOIP, the thing it's in Star Citizen. FOIP is VTubing. We had what was it? Expat Brat was on the Captain's Table last week, which is up on YouTube and on podcast format. So if you want to go watch that, it's available at youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive. It's one of the last videos I posted. Talked about immersion and stuff like that, but Expat did her entire the entire channel, the entire thing, while she was in game using FOIP, and it looks really smooth. Now, it helps that she's learned some tricks, and she's a cinematographer IRL, so she knows a little bit. She's learned some camera tricks and that kind of stuff. But it's basically that, but on like an anime character or, you know, like a 3D character. Can you get a refund with Star Citizen? Yeah, you can get a refund within 3 weeks. Dude, that could get extremely expensive. I'm not planning on getting $1,000 VTuber skin. I'll get like the cheapest I can find. Like I can find. I know what you're talking about. I'm not a cat. Yeah, basically. Is VTuber going to be a fan tool? Oh, is my VTuber going to be a fan? That'll be a funny one. No, it'll be a Banu. It'll be a Banu in a suit. Yeah, Celine Star Dragon is a nice VTuber avatar. She's just kind of 3D. We've had a couple of people. Humek does VTubing. Just have an execute avatar. Oh. Since the Vulture requires some manual cutting of scrap, will it come with their prerequisite hand tools, or will those have to be purchased separately? Every Vulture comes equipped with a multi-tool, which can be used for welding and cutting objects alongside full components of salvage. No, the actual beams that we have that are right now just for like hole scraping, they're likely going to have a mode that is just cutting. So you can cut sections of a ship up away. And then you have tractor beams, which you can use to pull in those chunks. And then there's a little bay at the very front of it, which you can open, and then it'll process that in the front. VoIP is voice over Internet Protocol, and it's underlying technology for all telephones right now. No, I'm saying VoIP, face over IP. FOIP, F. You want a PNG, then like piss poor P. Yeah, something like that could work too. Hey, your PC Tech, thank you so much for those 5 subs. For those of you who don't know, this isn't because they just did all those things, but Angry PC Tech is also a content creator. You should go follow them, because they're on their way. They're doing a partner push now, so they're trying to get the partner. Pretty good content creator. Stuck like the rest of us on trying to play Star Citizen. Yeah, but Joseph, what I'm talking about is face over IP, the thing that is used in Star Citizen. Thanks for giving that shout out. Later, Joseph. Have a good night. That was a really good episode. That was probably one of the better episodes we've had in a long time of Inside Star Citizen. But I'm also super biased because this is just like, hey, not only is it here, but it's we're here. Like it's coming 319. And 319 is coming in May. So we've got 2 months. Like, it's really good. It concerns me how the component removal will work, though. What do you mean there, Tumbear? You can just take your tractor beam and pull it out. And if you like right now, how you kind of like latch on with your tractor beam to like a box, you can actually just set it to like pull it towards you. It's the same thing. You do that, you pull it towards you, and it'll pull the component out. Then you can put it back in. And if the pilot locks those mechanics, you can lock it so that no one can access those components unless you unlock it. So it'll work like doors, basically. Lack of ship permissions? Oh, you mean like so that people can't do it? Well, it just means you have to have a pilot who's operating. As someone said earlier, it's sneaky engineering is what it is. Because it finally gives a reason for someone to go around and swap out components if you need to. No bolts, beams unlock it. Beam Citizen. Say it with me. Beam Citizen. Love it. Just sniff it, like immerse yourself in it, because beams are the future, my man. You use beams and you push it until it clicks. I'll be waiting for my buddy to yank my power supply out mid-flight. Someone's going to do it. Someone's going to do it. Absolutely. We need remote keyless entry in Star Citizen tied to a mobi glass. Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's probably just like today where you, you don't necessarily always have like screws or anything in the computers. You can like push it in and it'll kind of click in. Sort of situation, probably something similar. In 318, how can you salvage a ship around PO if the shields are still on? You can't. It's not possible. No 3/8 socket missing from my toolbox experience. Yeah. Remember the whole chest of specialized tools you've gotten in your workroom. 1,000 years from now, you just have a cordless, drill-sized multi-tool. Yeah, that has just different components you can swap in and out. I mean, if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense as to why the Pyro multi-tool was so freaking popular in lore. Because it was like, hey, you know all of this entire, like, garage full of tools that you used to need to fix everything? You just need this. It's done. This and 7 modules. You just swap them out on the fly and they're done. Just make sure you keep it powered. It's like, damn, that is perfection. And it has a med gun, yeah, and it's medical. So you don't even need to keep a first aid kit around because you got one attached to your multi-crew. So that ship will be there forever? Yeah, unless it's cleaned up by the server. There are some right now they've talked about how there are some protocols in place for things to be cleaned up by the server over time. So I'm guessing that if it's a player-controlled thing that's been abandoned or claimed, it will have some timer on it where it'll disappear after so long if there's nobody interacting with it. Yeah, no more 10mm sockets. Yeah, my 13mm ratchet spanner used to vanish every week. Do you think they'll actually have use for the multi-tool battery? Yeah, that's the thing, is that I don't think it will be in 3.19, but it will be in the future, because that's resource management. Like that's part of that whole resource management system that they're adding for ships. It's also going to be for your suit, for vehicles, for guns, and for tools. All of them will have used, and even space stations and outposts all use the same resource management system. So it'll use the same thing. Forget quantum tools, forget discovering jump holes. The person who invented the multi-tool owns the planet, and their descendants are set for life at birth. Jaded, they're called Gray Cat Industrial. They invented it, and they're fucking big. They're fucking huge in the verse. And they started off as a very small mining tools manufacturer. And they're like one of the biggest companies in the verse. I had a great multi-tool experience yesterday. Snuck up on a hill next to a camp and stole a crate without detection. No gun to boot. Nice. There's already a power part in the HUD for the multi-tool, though not working. Yeah, it's just because they're waiting for that system. The resource system is going to be the one ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. The one ring system, as I've been calling these, which are these systems that are designed to do everything in the game, or like do the same thing for every part of the game. So the system that was developed for space stations is the same one that's being used for caves, and is the same one that's being used for jump points. And then I'm sure it's the same system or the similar system that's being used for procedurally generating interior, building interiors. And it's probably the same system that's going to be used for procedurally generating UGFs. It's one system that works for all of them. It's the same tool that they use for everything. And that's the same thing with the resource management. Resource management is the one tool that they'll use for every part of the game because it'll touch everything. The story of the person who invented the multi-tool is actually very sad. He was a genius, like a certified Wunderkind, was brilliant at everything he did, was dedicated to his craft, but was suckered into working for Titiana Terraforming to try to terraform Oberon into a livable planet, which is impossible. And what they were doing was trying to heat up the core. So they had dug a bunch of tunnels into Oberon to try to get closer to the core so they could drill into the core and then relight it. And in the process, he was in charge of he got put in charge of digging the tunnels because he was a geohacker. He was a terraformer. That was what he went to school for. And he did really, really well. And in his downtime, when he wasn't working, when he wasn't supervising the work, because he was often down in the mines with his workers, he was coming up with new designs. And one of the designs that he invented that would make his job easier was the Pyro multi-tool. The idea being that if you could use one tool to replace a bunch of different other tools, it would make it easier for him to dig and to process and all these sorts of things. So he came up with this concept. And at one point in his work, an accident happened and the mine collapsed, and it trapped him in rubble in this mine collapse. And he was rescued, but as a result, he lost the use of his, I think, left arm. And he took it personally. He thought it was his fault. So he actually never got a prosthetic for his arm. So he lived without an arm and went into a deep depression, quit his job, And his friend, who was the daughter of the owner of Grey Cat, whom he had known her since they both went to school together, she was looking to get away from her father, who was running Grey Cat and Heavy Industrial at the time, or Grey Cat Industrial at the time. And while she was technically in charge, she was the CEO, he was still chairman of the board and was like doing the whole like parent helicopter thing. And she was like, I'm going to take advantage of Croshaw being terraformed, and I'm going to open up a brand new headquarters in Croshaw. I'm going to be there and let my dad stay on Mars where he can, deal with that stuff, and I can do my other stuff. So she brought him on board because he needed a job and he was a good engineer, that she knew he was a good engineer. So he accepted it, came in, and immediately started to develop tools that he felt he needed because he was working in mines, and Grey Cat was a mining company. It was a company that built mining tools for salvage or for excavations and such. So he immediately thought, what could I do? What would have wanted to have to make life safer in the mines that sort of prevented the accident that caused me to lose my arm? And he invented the Aerial armor. That armor is still around today. And the idea being that this armor would have saved the lives of the men and women who died under his watch, and his own arm. That Aerial armor was built to that standard. Pretty popular, did really well. And afterwards, the CEO said, "This is great. Like, you're going to be the head of our engineering department." He was just like, "Nope, I do not want the responsibility of people's lives on me. I want as many eyes as possible to check my work. I'm just here to work." So she was just like, "What else do you got?" And he pulled out the plans for the Pyro multi-tool. And they started making it, and they literally could not keep up with demand. People started to make copies of it, and it nearly ruined the company because they had to sue so many people for copying their tool. And it wasn't until well after both of their deaths that Grey Cat was able to get out from under this problem. And how did they do that? Well, they found the freaking files that this dude had kept of all of his plans, and then basically up until today had been stealing all of these plans for mining tools from this guy's old stockpile of ideas, which includes the original PTV and I believe the Sidnus mining tick. So everything up to the Steve is quite literally the idea of one guy. No, I take that back. The rock is not his idea. The rock is separate as well. That's probably really rating. I have all this information in my head because people are talking about how this is legitimately a great idea for whoever came up with multi-tool as a basically a replacement for all tools. It would be a good gajillionaire. And it's it was a really fascinating story behind that whole thing too. No, the Rock and the Rock DS were not his ideas, which explains a lot. I don't work for the CIG lore department. I'm not gonna say I wish I do, but I don't work for the CIG lore department. That story. The PTV is. In fact, the story of the PTV is funny because when they first made the PTV, it was actually had an armored roof. So it was designed to be small enough to go into mines and survive cave-ins. Be fast enough to drive to out pace a cave-in, and also protect you in case you had a cave-in, because it would protect the roof. The roof would be armored, so it would protect you and give you some space to be able to move if you got caught in one. So it kind of give you a safety bubble. And so they started making it as that. And the people who were on the assembly line making it, when they came off the assembly line, would race them through the assembly, through the factory. The workers would just race it through the factory because they had so much fun with it. And the CEOs or the people at Grey Cat were basically this is a good utility vehicle. Let's just remove the armored top to make it a little bit faster. And that's how we got the PTV today. The PTV was originally a mining cart and then got turned into a little golf cart now. So it was an escape vehicle, yeah, effectively. You can't keep up with all the stuff they push out. I know, that's the reason why my channel can work. He already learned humility before he really made it. Well, that was the sad story, is that he was a genius and he knew it. So he was a son of a bitch. The dude, I can't remember his name, but he was a son of a bitch who absolutely everyone despised. He just grated everyone's nerves, but he was never wrong. So it was like, I fucking hate you because of the way you told me that this is wrong, but I also know that you're never wrong. I hate this fact. Is this component salvage and component Lego attachment coming up could herald some interesting things that CIG considers too small to make the radar? Make the radar. What do you mean, Fishy? I got you don't remember it either. I don't remember names very well. I'm a teacher and I don't know names. It's terrible. There's so many different names out there, and I think a lot of the names in Star Citizen are pretty generic. They don't stand out, which is a good thing, I think, because it means that they kind of blend into the background. But outside of like the Mezzers, which is a pretty like solid name, since I think it's German for knife. It's kind of on the nose there, CIG, but you know. Ivar Mezzer. At one point, Darj helped me out with the name Ivar, because I think Ivar is actually not German. It's Slavic, I believe. Like the multi-tool battery could be the same code as ship gun swapping. Probably is. It's the same tools. Are there still a lot of ships that don't have components? Yeah, there's a lot of ships that don't have components, but I wouldn't say all of them don't. It's usually just the bigger ones. So, like I think the Carrack has it, but the Hammerhead doesn't. The Connie doesn't, but that's because they haven't had the interiors really made yet. The Raft does. So like all of the newer ships do. It's just the older ships that don't, and those are getting smaller and smaller. Like I think the Freelancer doesn't have it yet, and they're working on that. But I do think the Cutlass has them. I don't know if you can access them, but so. Yeah, I'm sure the Gladiator doesn't have it. The Aurora doesn't have it. I don't think the Mustang has it yet. I don't think the Avenger Titan has it, or the Avenger series doesn't have them yet. So there's a couple of ships, especially the smaller single ships, that don't have them because they need to have a gold pass for them. But like the Gladius does, for instance. My alerts are not working there. Thank you for the 13 months there, Axis. I have to go through and fix a lot of that problem, and I haven't had a chance to. They only said 0 to 2. Yeah, but not all ships, even with that 0 to 2 range, actually have slots for them, like the Freelancer doesn't. So there's no point in trying to salvage a Freelancer because it just doesn't have it. So when will be change Cat and C2 size ships? Probably when they have space for them. My guess is that they just don't want to like put those in quite yet. I'm sure that because they're pretty big components. I think what they're doing is waiting for the larger tractor beam technology to be finished. Hey, Sandy. It goes okay. That's what I mean. A lot of secondary small things that CIG just didn't mention, like the multi-tool battery or how the component salvage or hole stripping could make jump town things basis a thing. Well, it's because I don't think CIG needs to tell us all those things. We can kind of like gather it on our own. CIG just wants to get this part of tractor beams out, and it's just they wanted to show what it can be doing, but there's a lot more than it can do other than that. We already watched ISC, L-Walk. You're like an hour late. All hail the beam feeds all. Beam citizen. How people can not only restock ballistas, but do complete repair, rearm, and refuel almost on site. The only thing you can't do is full repair, because like you can do whole repair, but that whole repair isn't as good. You can do full swap outs of equipment if they get damaged, but you won't be able to like replace a wing that's missing from a Gladius, for instance. Not yet, at least. Someone sent me a message. Oh. Yeah, Victoria, I'll double check with them. Because I got to go over there anyways, because I got to re-up my P.O. box, and I'll talk with them about it. I know you're not a big cargo slash miner, but how into salvage will you? Probably not be that much. I mean, like, my plan is to be a smuggler, but I kind of do with a lot of stuff. Like, you're probably going to end up doing this. You will probably end up, I'll probably end up doing salvage and mining and cargo running. And one of the things I'm going to do here in the near future, because I had a hot take a couple days ago. I don't remember when I did this, but a bunch of people got onto it and got mad about it. Which is, I don't think that the extended prison times are actually a bad thing. I think they're a good thing, because they're a sign that CIG is moving forward with not only prison, but with piracy and criminal gameplay. And those extended times are there to disincentivize criminal activity, or at least getting caught, to try to get you not to do those things. And I think there's a little bit of whining going on when it's like, oh, the ban, I'm getting a 21-hour ban. It's like, you're just being salty and logging out instead of trying to escape or do mining. And I get a lot of people, like, a lot of people don't want to do mining, but it's like, that's not the point. You could be out faster if you did this tool, if you did this, but prison's not going to be a fun experience. It's supposed to engage you a little bit, but it's not the gameplay you don't want. I mean, you can just rage quit and quit, but like, that's on you. There is a way you could get out. How's the guard coming along? Oh, pretty good, actually. This if I can't. The two. Focus properly. I'm kind of working through the infantry first, because I want to try to get the infantry done, because they're the pain in the ass. But I've kind of got used to how to paint them and such. Well, I mean, and I get the arguments. I get the arguments that's like, I didn't sign up to play a game where I had to go mining. I signed up to the game so I can be a pirate, but it's like, there's also consequences to your actions, and that's just going to get more intrusive to your gameplay as the game goes along. So because of this, though, because I made this take, a bunch of people said, Paul, you can't discuss this unless you've experienced it yourself. You can't have an opinion unless you actually have lived this life. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do some piracy and stuff like that next week. So y'all willing to join me? you're welcome to join me. I'm not going to do PvP, but I'll get criminal status. I'll go hunt NPC ships and knock them out and steal their cargo and go sell them and, you know, piracy for fun and profit and go take out comm relays and try to cover my ass as much as possible. So I'm going to do it. And I know my opinion will never change on it, but at least next time someone says, well, you don't understand, man, I'll be like, I did this. I did it while it was buggy and I don't have a problem with it because I understand what it is. To be fair, Paul, prison mining used to be near impossible for some due to the spawns being so far in. Yeah, and it definitely is not hard. It's definitely difficult, but like there's this like crucifixion complex. There's some Messiah complex going on where people are like, well, they never fix prisons. And it's like every patch they try to fix prisons. It's just a buggy game. CIG's not intentionally avoiding fixing prisons or improving prisons. It's just either not a priority or they try to fix it as best they can. They don't have the bandwidth for it. It's the same reason why every patch NPCs are standing on shares and elevators will kill you. Like, we know these things are a fact. CIG wants to fix them, but for some reason they can't because of other issues. It's just the issue. Hey, Jake. Now I gotta go because I'm catching your stream from the beginning on YouTube. Double time. Okay, Jet. I want to know more Rust Society stuff in game as Salvage evolves. What about you? I'd love to see that too. Yes, I'd love to see that. In my opinion, it should be prison time and in-game fines for crimes against fellow players. It should be about everything. It's just immersion. Like the purpose of prisons is to push players to not be in systems that are populated. So I do get the little bit of a we're being punished for playing the gameplay we want to do, especially before 3.18. That was 100% true, but 3.18 allows piracy. CIG has a very explicitly talked about piracy in 3.18. They've made it easier than ever to sell illegal goods. It's like not that difficult to do piracy. It's the same reason why smuggling works pretty well. The difference is that it's much harder to lose your crime stat. And like, I get it. Bugs are going to happen, but like we're less than 3 patches away from having a brand new system in the game. Well, maybe 3 patches or more, because I could definitely see we're getting 3.19, then I could definitely see a 3.20, and you know we don't know the status of 4.0. But hey, Jake, 3.19 is gonna make piracy even better because you can just strip everything from a ship. You can do that scene from Lord of War where he lands the plane in I don't know, like was it some rural like province in you know Africa, and they stripped the whole plane to like its frame within an hour or something like that, or within 12 days. I want more piracy against NPCs. You can do that. If you just chill around a certain area, the game will spawn cargo ships, especially caterpillars, which will just be around you. It's been happening for a long time. If you stick to an area long enough, the game will effectively roll the dice and decide if you'll see a caterpillar, and then you'll see a caterpillar. And you can attack that caterpillar and disable it, and then now steal the shit that's in it. They have cargo, yeah. They do have cargo. You literally gasped when you got wind of it last month. It's pretty cool. Okay, well, we're going to have to watch it again because Jake's here now. Everyone's like, Paul, watch it. It's like, okay, we'll watch it again. And I'll go over it a little bit more.
Tractor
Where can you find NPC ships? Any moon, pretty much. If you stick around in like an orbit of any moon, they have a chance of spawning in around you. You'll be able to see them pop up randomly. You just have to stay in that area for like 5 or 6 minutes.
beams have been a staple of science fiction for almost 100
It tends to be
years.
yellow, yeah.
They go all the way back to the work of Amazing Stories magazine and E.E. Smith's classic Facehounds of IPC, the serials of 1931. They're a metaphor for all of science fiction in that they look to extend our reach beyond what's physical and bring that which we can only imagine closer and within our grasp.
Yes, there was a bald man who popped up out of the the bar there.
And while tractor beam gameplay already has a presence in the persistent universe, work is currently underway bringing its full potential into the hands and spacecraft of the Stanton system, with the next step forward happening in the upcoming Alpha 319.
Did I see correctly they're using 1SU boxes in the whole C and ISC? Yes, because it's but it's not it's not final version. It's just because that's what they have available right now. Basically, everything before this section that says 319 is just their visualization of it.
The current state
like
of
this
the
is how
tractor
whole
beam is
A,
already in a really fun and fitting state. Especially when the tractor beam was released, people got really creative with stacking boxes, creating obstacles for each other, or coming up with very interesting ideas of systemic.
That look jank? It is jank. That's just how it is. It's how it works right now in game.
Multiplayer action, like who can destroy the ship and steal as many boxes, like team versus team situation. Or you could even use the grabbed objects as harm, so slap them on someone else's person head and then make them the minimum unconscious. So
Yeah, the
tractor
Lensman
beams
series,
in
yeah.
live game currently are able to move cargo crates onto your cargo grid. So it's fitting the concept of you having a handgun that can do the box interactions, and there's still the grapple mechanic that you can use. So you can pull yourself towards ships, or
Space
towards
skiing.
bigger objects, heavier objects, to traverse a bit easier in zero-G. The limitations are that it is very it cannot interact with any items yet. It's just there for boxes, for unconscious bodies or dead bodies.
Do you intend for it to be for unconscious bodies?
I think it's intended to be for unconscious bodies, yes.
More for the corpse starch factories. It's a lot of bodies. So this is a whole C right here. That is the whole C panels.
So where do we want to take tractor beams? We would like to introduce more variances to the FBS tractor beam that you're seeing. So right now you only have the multi-tool that has the tractor
The best invention of humanity.
beam attachment. So we would like to have a dedicated tool, maybe even upgraded version to the tractor beam attachment.
So the question
So you
is
might
that
have
this,
heavier
will this be like a bigger brother to the Pyro? And if I remember correctly, it's not going to be, because the salvage attachment for this, it has a tube that connects to a backpack that will then, you can, when you collect the salvage from it, it'll funnel it into the backpack itself so you can have more, space. And then this version is just a, so they're like bespoke. These tools are more bespoke than the tool, like a multi-tool. Hey, Galactica.
Attachment for the multi-tool. So we would
DJ.
really like to dive into more meaningful itemization.
Do you think Hull C in 319? No, 319, Hull C is not, if the Hull C was to be in 319, we'd probably have heard about it or seen it on the roadmap by now. It's still possible. Anything is possible, but I wouldn't expect it until that happens. So, but it's definitely been worked on. There's a lot of discussion in the monthly reports. They're basically kind of finishing up. They're touching up the interior. Last I saw. So
For the tractor beam, and basically have it believable that you have a big tractor beam to move like very heavy and very big objects, rather than you just have your tiny handgun that you move like 36 square cubic meter boxes around or something like that. There's also the tractor beam in regards to the Salvage gameplay. So you have on the Salvage ships, like the Reclaimer and the Vulture, you have the functionality to pull in debris. And then in the future, once the Salvage feature is progressing, you will be able to munch those pieces and create like additional resources.
The question I have is, does that mean the claw is just for aesthetics right now? It will forever be for aesthetics? Or will it actually be functional? I know that's a lot of work for one ship, but a lot of people got it because of that claw. So I hope it gets fixed, though. That's what they said about Squadron 42 2018. It's all touch-ups we want to do. I don't remember them saying that at all. You'd have to like link that to me.
Out of that. For vehicle tractor beams, there are basically two things that we would like to see. And there's the concept of remote turrets. So something that its full purpose is to basically help the systems that the ship itself has. For example, on the Starfarer.
This is another question.
That is able
now, this is visual conceptualization, but this seems to be implying that we may be able, like the process of saddlebag detachment could be sooner than we think. And if I would say anything, the reason why people want saddlebag detachment is not because they want to refine the materials. It's because they want to have that saddlebag then be pulled into a ship, and then a new saddlebag be attached, and so then that ship can go take it to get refined. So like it's more of a cargo issue rather than that, which is what we see with what they're doing with this later. But this is just a conceptualization. None of this is all just like the editors doing what they can to make it look good for you. So they were going to release it before Christmas when they came back and said they wanted to post-release. I don't remember them. That sounds suspicious. They're too tired to care, because I followed this game pretty closely for many years, and I don't remember any time them going to CitizenCon and saying it's all just touch-ups. We're going to release it in 2019. CIG hasn't released an official release date for Squadron 42 since they said answer the call 2016. If you're saying 2016 or 2015 CitizenCon or 2016 CitizenCon, 2015 CitizenCon, I'd believe that. And that's a little. There's a whole bucket of worms for that one, but no.
To bring in the mining pods from the
any chance we can see tractor beams on mining ships? Maybe
from the Prospector, or detach the fuel pods from the fuel pod socket, so you could exchange them, or for example for the hull variances that you have a remote tractor beam that is able to detach the cargo boxes from the
this is what people were talking about. So this is, if you look down here, tractor beam visual conceptualization. This is the whole scene. In fact, let me back it up a little bit. I'll back it up 10 seconds so we can. That's the whole scene,
for example,
right there.
For the hull variances that you have a remote tractor beam that is able to detach the cargo.
The whole sea has been in a state of finished for a while. It was finished, I think, 2 years ago, and then they looked at it and were like, yeah, this looks ugly. Let's do effectively a gold pass to bring it up to the same standard as the whole A. The last monthly report, they said they're working on the interior of when it expands, the central walkway that expands. That's when the spindles expand or spindles go out, how that animations will work and how it'll look. But
cargo boxes from the basically cargo holding plates on the hull series ships, and then there's
that's just
the
like
concept of the not remote tractor beam, but the fully ship driven tractor beam, if so to say, which is more the active one. So best example there is the SRV, for example, that has its full purpose to be to tow ships. So you basically have a stranded ship that you attach to and then move around. But what we also want to have there is some ships might have.
So this ship right here, the SRV, is done. It was going for its final no go kind of meeting back in February. So it's done. It's waiting for the functionality to exist, though, likely.
An indirect remote turret or indirect remote version of a tractor beam, which is
He does say saddlebags, but he says it as an idea in the
version,
future.
So it's more in combat scenario. You have a situation that someone tries to flee, and you just use the tractor beam to hold that person in place, so that that person cannot escape. And
fire in the sky! I recognize that.
To grab your bounty. An additional feature.
So that is an interesting concept as well, that you can use tractor beams as a means to as a less than lethal weapon to be able to stop people from escaping and maybe even capture people. It's like a freaking Pokeball. Will you be able to pack 1 SU boxes into 32 SU containers yet then? I have no idea. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if they'll do it like where you can put boxes inside the containers. I don't know if the containers will just spawn on their own and you can just put stuff into those 32 SEU containers like you can the 1 SEU containers that you can purchase. I don't know how they're going to do it, but possibly. The idea being that 32 SEU containers will be things that you use for the main shipment of stuff. So
feature that we also see in the future is combining the beams. So you are able to, not only one player, once it attaches to a box, that only that player is able to move the box, but
too tired to care. The answer to reason why they were saying they were almost done in 2016 is because that was before they had procedural landing. When Frankfurt came in and they were able to allow for procedural landing to exist in Star Citizen, that completely changed everything. Because before that moment, landing on planets was going to be a cutscene, and you might have a small area you could explore, but most of the game was going to take place on space stations, in your ship, or in space. So Star Citizen and Squadron 42 were reaching a point where they had this kind of ramp up phase where they were going to be finishing up a lot of the stuff they were working on, dialing in the things they needed to do and move on. But once they added landable planets, that became nuts because now that the play space expanded immensely, so there was much more space they had to do. They added more gameplay, and that also was added to Squadron 42. I don't think CIG will ever come out and admit that landing on planets completely screwed them, because I don't know why. I mean, I guess it wouldn't work well, but that explains a lot. It helps explain a lot about why everything got delayed, because effectively they had to throw out all the stuff that they were working on, because anything that didn't work with this concept of procedural landing on planets was no longer viable. So cutscenes needed to be reworked. Entire sections of games need to be reworked, and Star Citizen especially had this issue. It is one of the biggest changes that Star Citizen had that at the time we knew was going to be big, but we didn't just know how impactful it was to the whole thing. Yeah, basically I had to start over with a lot of stuff. But I guess it's not really a good idea to say, hey, we have this cool new thing, so we're going to throw out everything we've worked on over the last 3 years and start over from scratch.
Have maybe people targeting the same box and fighting over the box,
but it's also a little bit of hyperbole. It's not like everything had to be thrown out. Lots of stuff still exists from that time period, models and other elements and even code elements, but a lot of it had to be changed to adapt to it.
Even like the body, and then being able to move that around. Maybe even the FPS devices are so big that it is like you at least could be able to grab a small Aurora or Nox or something small. So it's like it makes sense that you are able to grab that tiny vehicle or tiny ship.
All right, so basically all of the stuff you just saw before then is ideas of what they're doing. I don't think you'll actually be able to use the rifled tractor beam tool to yeet Auroras around like discuses, but the concept exists where you could have a beam tool of some kind that you could use to prevent ships from escaping and such. It's kind of cool.
With the future being somewhere out there, let's actually talk about what we have in plan for 319. We are actually working on the entire tractor beam thing in regards to the SRV. But one thing that we noticed while working on it is that we actually have one thing that we could split out and actually bring to you a bit earlier than anticipated. And this feature is basically item stripping. So you detach items from certain ports, or you or more use in like riddles that are done by the level design teams.
Once the vehicle is soft-dev or unlocked, you're gonna be able to, with a tractor beam, find all the good guns and modules like shield generators or life supports or whatever. Detach them, put them on your ship, or put them in your cargo hold, and sell them later, or use them.
Wow. So you will use your multi-tool, the very buffed version of the multi-tool, to be detaching those weapons where there is a new weight limit that the multi-tool can now exceed. There's a new volume that the multi-tool can now exceed to allow you to detach at least like a majority of the items. There might be.
Paul, don't put me in my dreams of lawn darts and arrows. So if you're not getting what this is, and this is why it's this huge, this is like a secret Salvage edition. This is Salvage 1.0 or Salvage 1.5, 0.5 or whatever. This is component salvage, weapon and component salvage. So you're likely going to make a lot more money off of guns and components than you will off of the goo, the whole goo in the future. I wouldn't call it Salvage version 1 because CIG themselves don't call it Salvage version 1 because it's not just salvage. This is also used for this will also be used for other aspects. This is just one part of it. It has to do with ship's actual functionality because this also works for kind of engineering gameplay. It also works for repair. Like you can just strip off an old broken gun and then swap a replacement on it. It's rearming. This is the first version of rearming. We've talked about this before, but this means that you can, let me do this real quick. This means you can restock a ballista in the field. Let me say that again. You can restock a ballista and not have to take it back to get restocked. This is logistics. You can legitimately set up a forward operating base somewhere in like nearby Jumptown, for instance, with a Starfarer, a stockpile of missiles and or guns. And when your, combat air patrol, the patrol that's around there, the ships that are around there are running out of fuel or need to restock on missiles, they can fly back to this resupply base, pick up their stuff and bring it back to pick up their stuff, then get back in the fight with having to go all the way back to a location. And if a ballista runs out of missiles, once the flight is over with, you can have a small ship you can have like something like a Freelancer or something else like that can carry those missiles and bring them to the ballista and then reload the ballista on the fly. That's brilliant. Brilliant. This is not just salvage. This is salvage. This is cargo. This is restock and this is restock. This is repair. It's a ton of different things slapped into one. Huge. Yeah.
The items hidden behind walls that for sure you will not be able to detach from their socket, but all the items that are visible and especially the internal components that are size 0, size 1 and size 2, you will be able to detach from their socket, and if you have a spare, for example, sitting around next to you, can easily change them. If you have a shield generator and you notice for the situation that I'm right now in,
like the C1, the what was it? The C1, the A1, the Spirit. This might be the kind of sneak peek of the Spirit, but Yeah, you can see just how easily it pulls it out, pulls it back in.
It's not good enough, so you can take your
I think it might be the
grab it,
MSR, but
pull it out of the socket and grab the other one that you have,
Hot
which
swap.
might be suiting for the situation better, and then just pop it in, and voila, you just changed your shield generator.
Will the Ion Inferno guns be swappable? I doubt it. I don't think so, but those are bespoke guns. That's different.
On the fly. For weapons, since they are on the outside, we allow you to detach any weapon that matches the metrics.
I wonder if they physicalize ammo with drums for ballistic weapons, ballistic ships. I think at least for 319, I wouldn't be surprised if the actual ammo count is tied to the weapon rather than the hull. So if you run out of ammo, you can get a similar gun and just swap it right back, hot swap it back onto the ship, and you've got a full loaded of ballistics. Eventually, I mean, this means that I wouldn't be surprised if 320 they had some sort of physicalization of ammo counters, of ammo like bins somewhere on the ship or on ships, so you can easily pull them out and pull them back in. Like, that's great.
So I think right now the biggest that you can pop out of the socket are size.
Yeah, fire, aim down sight, pit menu.
Depends a bit on the shape,
little,
because we have different masses and different volumes for the different shapes of the different types that we have. So it's a bit dependent there, but what is important to us on the tractor beam are synergies. And what synergies we have is, or we will have with this feature, a way to restock yourself. Like not restocking with physical ammunition, like you have from your ballistic cannons, but at least from missiles.
You can potentially find a ship that's sub-dead or like fully destroyed that has the same type of missile, and you can grab those missiles, attach to your own ship, and use them like in the future fight.
In a multi-crew scenario, you can have a friend.
Yeah, we're watching this. A lot of people want us to watch it.
Cutlass Black full of missiles, and you just take it out of their backside and refill.
Mobile fob right there,
With
baby.
fire, obviously, to be much more interesting because there's like a more limited shop supplies and all of that. But even right now, it's like a pretty valuable option because a lot of those components are actually pretty expensive.
What we also will allow you to do is like strip the items off alive ships, but to prevent other players from randomly stealing you the items, we will lock that behind a certain functionality. So right now the discussion is that we will have an unlock key binding that you press, and then you basically allow the items to be detached from their socket. So you press the button, and then anyone in your ship or anyone around the ship can then detach the items, either use them on a different ship, on the same ship again, or sell them for profit.
During the Go No Go, there was like a comment that it is a potential exploit if the parts are too expensive. The exploit is that you can spawn your own ship, claim it, and then sell the parts of it, and then reclaim it, and then cannot do this loop. It would be counted as a crime right now, I think, but it's like, you know, up to debate. So that's something that's being discussed right now.
There's also the synergy with, which ties in very nicely with the mining update that we have been talking about already last time, which is like you can exchange the mining head on the fly. Not only the mining head you will be able to detach and attach, but also the sub-items attached to the mining head. So if you have, for example, a brand module that just depleted and you have a spare one with you, just grab your tractor beam, pull it out of the cargo hold and attach it again to the mining head. So you restocked your brand module, for example. Not only we have the synergy now for the mining, but also for refueling. So if you have a Starfarer that has fuel pods and they are empty, and you just stumbled over an NPC or another player that has a fully filled Starfarer, you either negotiate to buy one of their fuel pods to get it over
negotiate
and
with
attach
bullets
it to your ship, or you find another way to actually get the fuel pod with the fuel inside and attach it to your Starfarer, and voila, you have a Starfarer that is now able to refuel other players.
That means that we may also get the physical cargo versions of these little tubes, because there's actually a concept for a box version of these, which was designed to hold cargo, dry fuel or cargo, so that you could expand the Starfarer to be a cargo hauler rather than just a fuel hauler. So,
without you paying any money for the fuel that or maybe you paid a bit of money for it to be attached.
Yeah, rip vehicle manager to Moby Glass. Thank God. That thing needed to die. Anything like everything that is in the Moby-Glass, if you can make all of that diegetic in the universe, that makes a lot more sense. Go for it. It's fantastic.
To your ship.
We also like have some quality of life stuff. So if you have a gun and you move your mouse left, right, the gun will rotate this way always. Before, rotating was very tricky. Now it's a bit more intuitive, at least from my perspective.
Because we also did Salvage with the same concept as we did mining with the sub-items and so on. Yes, you will also be able to detach the sub-items on the Salvage head or the Salvage head in the future itself.
I shouldn't be able to attract large objects in normal G though. I mean, the idea is that in the future you will be you'll use the tools. So right now for 319, it's just functionality, but in the future, a lot of these things you'll require the, like, it's basically what I've been calling the rifle tool, but it's basically like a larger like tool, like a beam tool, or you need to use a ship-based tool. So like an actual like ship with a tractor beam being able to like attach those. It's just for now, it's just it's a matter of this is what they have available, so just make it work. Because all the difference is just the tools that they haven't built yet, which they have built, they haven't finished them yet. That's it. So yeah, it's just a placeholder. But one Drake mule with tractor beam. I mean, soon the mule crane that we all want to see. Soonish.
And exchange the modules as you like and as needed.
Like this.
So this is
hold on.
The next as you like concept as you like and as needed.
That is a tractor beam, right? That's a tractor beam that's attached to the station, it looks like. Handheld, I mean. It just, I know what you mean, but it's like, in 319, it's just a matter of what they have. And they have larger tools, beefier tools, which you should be able to do anyways. As long as you have the right tools for it, you should be able to do it. I mean, we're talking like a bigger, tougher tool to do those sorts of things. And CIG has said that the weight things will matter. Weight will matter when it comes to the tractor beams, and you'll have to use different tools for different weights, which will happen. It's just 319 is a stand-in. That's all.
So this is the next step we will take with the tractor beam for 319. And there are more to come. What I'm personally looking forward to the most is how it actually ties in with all the other systems. And I think that is also the most joy that I already get with this release for 319, which is how it already well interacts with the refueling that we did, with the mining update, because there we talked about how important it is now that the items are fitting the rocks, and now it is like even in our QATR or in our internal playstations, we now have a fully stacked Catalyst Black with all the mining heads there, and we just swap them out regularly, and it's really fun. It feels like this is how it's supposed to be, and it's not anymore like this weird like menu gameplay. It's like real, it's physical. You have your tractor beam in your hand, you have the item lying in front of you, you pull out the item from the socket and you attach the new one. So I'm really looking forward to what you will come up with. So right now we are not trying to limit it too much. We might reconsider that once we see you
can't have shit Stanton anymore.
Havoc to our game, but for now, yeah. Once 319 is out there, be creative, destroy the world, whatever.
Emotional damage, yes.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that tractor beams will add additional functionality to the Salvage gameplay that came online in Alpha 318, as well as...
Can tractor beams catch active missiles? Yes, they can do so in 318. People have been using tractor beams to catch bombs since 317. But more than once has someone EVA'd with their tractor beam tool, locked onto the missile, and then someone fired it and they caught the missile in their tractor beam and held it there. It is 100% possible in game right now.
New mining improvements arriving in 319. that its scope will continue to expand into better cargo and vehicle options in the releases beyond that, and that now is definitely the winter of our Torsten content.
Torsten.
Because he's done like 3 episodes in 5 weeks. 4 if you count SCL. I owe that guy a beer. 2 for the bad Shakespeare pun I just did. And remember, for continuing updates on the post-launch status of Alpha 3.18, keep an eye on the robertspaceindustries.com website for details. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week.
So many people.
You've seen people.
Because of this, so many people said, Paul, they're calling you out directly. For those of you who don't know, at least for a year, I've seen people complain. For years, I've seen this, but for at least for a year, after seeing so many people complain about immersion and like Beams Citizen and Beams doing everything, and it's just beams. I personally have been embrace the beams. The beams is love, beams is life. Like, we know what fishing gameplay is going to be. It's just beams. We know how this works because beams just work so well. It just answers the problem for most of the gameplay issues they have, because otherwise they'd have to do bespoke animations and other shit, which is just too much work for not that fun of gameplay. So as much as they can automate with beams, the better possible. So when this came out, everyone's like, Paul, they called you out. I'm like, what?
Say that we rely too heavy on beam gameplay. That everything's a beam.
Oh, yeah.
Salvage is a beam.
Yeah.
Mining is a beam.
Actually, we internally talk
Movie
about
is a fucking beam. What do you say to people who say that we're beam citizen?
I am so confused by this.
they are right.
Vindication!
Use it.
Vindication. All right, go back. Now, we've all saw it, all right? Ironically, no continuous beam weapons. Yet. There are beam weapons in production. Hey, Xylo. We were just talking about Beam Citizen. Embrace the beams. Love the beams. Xylo's here. To be fair, for those of you who've been saying, Paul, they called you out, it's like, I'm not the one who coined the term beam citizen. Other people in the community have been calling Star Citizen, derisively calling Star Citizen beam citizen for years. I'm just one of the few people who are like, and it's a good thing. You'll love the beams because it makes it so that you can you'll actually have salvage and repair and medical this decade. What are my thoughts on the Freelancer Door? I think the Freelancer Door is and will continue to be the most underrated exploration ship in the game. It is a fantastic ship for what it does, and the Freelancer itself will absolutely shine when 4.0 comes out. Because y'all don't understand, like, Pyro is huge. It's like 4 times the size of Stanton. So if you're going to be traveling in Pyro, you're going to need either good logistics or a lot of fuel. And the Dur is perfect for that sort of thing. And it's got plenty of cargo. It's got like 32 or 40 SCU of cargo. It's got a ton of cargo space in it. Maybe 24. I think it's 32. $66? The Dur has 66 SCU? Yeah, fuck you. It's fantastic. No ship of its size, that size, has that much cargo space with that much fuel. Plus a bespoke refinery. Get the fuck out of here. It's a fantastic ship. Dur is underrated, you say? Yeah, so it's got to be like 32 because usually half the amount. It might be 40 though. I might be thinking 32. You just use it, yeah. So I was right 32. Yeah. We've also, by the way, Galactica and Xylo and I don't know if Jake is still here. We've decided, Chat and I have decided that the multi-tool is the best invention in human history. Because if you think about it, like, and I know Xylo, I know you do this. I know Jake sometimes does this. I don't know about you, Galactica, if you do a lot of building and construction or any kind of like use of tools, like hand tools and such. But the amount of tools you need on an average basis to do any kind of DIY stuff is a lot. There's tons of tools in to do pretty much. You need a lot of tools to do this, the kind of stuff you want to in a modern day garage or even like a professional garage. But to take all those tools and turn it into one single tool is brilliant. It's amazing. It would if that would existed today, that company that invented that would be richer than Google in terms of how much money they would make to streamline everything into a single tool. Swiss Army beam, yes. Because not only does the multi-tool have all the tools you need in beam form, it also has your medical first aid in beam form as well. It's brilliant. 28. The cargo capacity zero is 28. Okay. That was close. Someone said it's 36, but I have to double check with that. It'd also be nice if they made engines rotate like the OG design. I'd like to see that too, but I know why they didn't do it anymore. They removed the cutting black salvage package from the sale. Oh, the Cutlass black package, yeah. One beam to rule them all. The amount of time you spend looking for that damn 10mm is always half the time it takes. Yeah. I only subscribe to Piccolo's special beam cannon, the best beam cannon. I'd be more interested in learning different types of hydrogen Durkin fashion. Supposedly, it's a thing at some point. It's the only beams. That's the sexiest site on Spectrum is only beams. It's just an engineering website. Dirigius. Yes, hydrogen is going to have different grades. So you'll have like kind of like octane is for gasoline. For petrol, you'll have like high octane petrol. You'll have some like high grade hydrogen, which will give you better performance, but less fuel efficiency or whatever, that kind of stuff. So, only beams is still not safe for work though. Missed the opportunity to use a cutting attachment to loosen the components before removing them. Listen. The only thing that the multi-tool is missing is the ability to melee with it, because sometimes to get a ship to work or get something to work, you need to punch it, and that is the perfect advertisement. It has all the tools you need, and when worse comes to worse, you can use it for percussive maintenance. You know. There's a lot of magic beams in Star Citizen. Love them. Mwah. It's not something you can just dump stuff into. It's a series of beams. What is their ship functionality that is silly that it's not already in the game that probably should be? The detachable fuel pods. I mean, I get why it's not in there yet, but like, it could theoretically exist. Give it the Fonz. Multi-tool really is too good, in my opinion. No, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense in terms of gameplay, and in lore, it makes a lot of sense too. They actually, like, there's a reason why Grey Cat is so fucking popular as a company. It really feels like we're on the precipice of something good. How does CIG keep doing this? Well, the issue with development is you can only develop what you have the technology for. So if, for instance, you're working on this cool gameplay element, let's call it plumbing for just as an example, right? So you have this element where you can install plumbing into buildings for your game. And that plumbing can like work. You have liquid physics you added to it. You have this whole thing in there. But the actual building structure, like the tools that allow you to build the building structure, doesn't exist. You can still build those like the pipes and work on the liquid physics and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter until the building structure tech is in. Once you've figured out how the ship can like create these buildings, then you can worry about how the pipe systems function. So CIG has been going from effectively bottleneck to bottleneck to bottleneck, and every time they go through a bottleneck, a bunch of stuff gets done. The last big bottleneck we had was right before mining got added. And right after, it was like 3.0-ish around that area. I think it was like OCS maybe. But once that hit, we saw an explosion of new gameplay. And then they hit another roadblock, which was persistent entity streaming and other things like the Gen 12 and stuff like that. And as those roadblocks are cleared, we're seeing another explosion of stuff. That's why we're seeing a ton of new content that's being planned or being worked on for things like missions and new gameplay elements that are just suddenly appearing out of nowhere. They didn't suddenly appear out of nowhere. They've been in planning and in works in the background for years, or scratched out on a piece of paper somewhere because they always knew they wanted to do it. But now that they actually have the space to do it, they're doing it. And when CIG has the ability to build to game dev, when you give people who are game devs the ability to game dev, they're going to do it pretty fast if they have the right tools. And that's the other thing that's happened is CIG's developed a ton of tools. What did I call it? The Sauron method of game development. One tool to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. Now suddenly, if you have a tool that can do a bunch of stuff for you, you can just plop, 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 and that's what we're seeing. All like caves, wrecks, outpost derelicts, just boom. So while 3.18, I know 3.18 started out buggy, but in my humble opinion, the update is groundbreaking for the game. It is. If CIG hadn't already said 4.0 is reserved for Pyro, it would be a 4.0 level. This would have been a 4.0 level release. This would have been a different generation release because it's that important. That changes that much changing of the game. So. Disco made a great analogy years ago where he talked about laying foundation, which takes time, but once it's done, the building would come in rapid succession, and here we are. Yeah. Now, it's important to remember that while this stuff is going to be added, the hardest part of game development is that last 10%. So as CIG reaches and starts to build a lot of these tools, more bugs will occur. You'll see more problems arise in the game itself. It'll probably get worse before it gets better. 4.0 will almost certainly be 3.18 version 2 in terms of its release. I expect an absolute clusterfuck of a release for 4.0 because it's that important. But I don't see that many of those giant problems in 4.1 or even beta release, because I don't think we'll see a 5.0 release. I think we'll go from 4.0 to beta 1.0. And it'll get better over time, and eventually you'll do that. But like the last little bit where they're adding all the things and making sure that the bugs are ironed out, like as they're kind of figuring out the problems in the game and fixing, like optimizing the code and get everything working together properly, they're gonna do something and it'll break the game for everyone again. And it'll take them a while to fix it and improve it, but. I'm surprised they don't just gray box a lot of stuff before they're releasing it so players can find bugs so they can develop the art and such for it. I think a lot of that is because CIG feels uncomfortable with releasing unfinished work, because they get, like, they're kind of in a position where if they release unfinished work for people to test, they're going to get a lot of like people paid $475 for this ship and it looks like this kind of articles and that sort of thing. And they don't want a lot of feels bad even for the community. The one thing I am a little puzzled about is why CIG doesn't keep a consistent PTU running all the time. Just keep it up in the background with new experimental ideas that they add to the game, because more people would play that, especially if they're, like, for instance, if they had the PTU open right now where they were testing out that technology they showed off, people would be streaming that right now. And even if you wanted to keep it in Evocati, they wouldn't stream it, but people would be playing it because they want to test it out and see how it works. And I think you'd get more buy-in if you had a constant PTU than if you just only did PTUs in chunks. So they get a flag for finished products, yeah. Bugs will happen. You can't fix them all, so don't add a system to logic that checks and corrects. It's always and always to reset things midway through without great cost. I think they should have a permanent PTU for Evocati for certain stuff, as you said, like the tractor beam tech they showed, or weapons balancing and such. Now, I also know that CIG is not, while CIG has a lot of money, they're not EA. They're not Blizzard. They don't have a lot of cash, enough cash to necessarily support huge numbers of people doing these things, especially if people aren't playing those things. You're just renting servers you're not using. But I also think that eventually CIG is going to have a constant permanent beta, a PTU constantly available for people to use and to test when the game is in beta form. When we're seeing the game, not seeing major gameplay additions, but we're seeing tweaks to components or behaviors or flight characteristics, like the small changes they'll make. They'll definitely want to see some of that stuff more in the miniature form and constant, because more people will be able to check it and try it out. So. The idea of Pyro is making me miss the OG Bang Stang. Oh, Bang Stang, the beta. They murdered my boy. Look what they did to my boy. All right, I'm going to have to do this. For those of you who don't know, I didn't invent the term Bang Stang. I forgot who did. I think it was a guy named Janitor who I used to hang out with. Not Darge, but a different janitor. He called it a Bang Stang. And I said, I'm going to make it that stick. So I called it the Bang Stang for a long time, because it's the difference. It's like a shaggin' wagon mixed with a muscle car. So we called it the Bang Stang because it's the beta. If we can find the old interior. Okay. So this is what the old interior used to look like. So this is the old beta. Look at that couch. Look at that couch. That's a couch, not even the bed. And you see, like, it's hard to see, but I'll see if I can zoom in here. But like right here, like right where you see those pillows, there was actually like a little like a bar thing, that kind of a table that slid away. And this is the interior from the shot from that. You had a little screen right there. We used to call it the Netflix and chill couch because it's where you took your significant other, the person you want to love up on, you cuddle up on the Netflix and chill couch and watch something, and maybe you have some mood music playing, and it's all good. It's a great little camping thing. And you got a little bed there too, and a little kitchen. Fantastic. Now let's look at the beta today. Look what they did. Look what they did. What is this? This is a prison. This is a prison cell. This is not this. How that is comfortable. This looks like I went to it. Like, this is worse than Kleischer. This is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Oh. It is one of the few things I've seen CIG reverse course and make something worse than it really originally was. Why don't you holler at Silas Kerner? Because Silas Kerner doesn't listen to me. And here I peek in just in time to see the saddest ship in Star Citizen. Agreed, it's the only ship that got worse now than it was earlier. Yeah. Oh. Look how they massacred my boy. Exactly. Oh. There's no romance. Romance is dead. There's no flavor. It's not sexy anymore. It can't be okay with this opinion. I can't be okay with this opinion because you like Drake. Listen, I'm not going to use my cutlass as a means to romance. I'm not going to take Cam out on a romantic dinner in a cutlass. I would in a bang stang though. Maybe if they actually made a cutlass purple. The old Freelancer interior was okay. It wasn't that good. It didn't have the panache, the style. That thing had style. The old beta had style. It had presentation, you know? Inner Hype is the biggest Freelancer fan out there. He simps for Freelancers like nobody else. And if he says the old Freelancer was garbage, it was garbage. Hey, Murad. I'm doing good. How you doing? You wouldn't go onto a date in a pre-2014 Ford Ranger. Why would you do so in a 2948 Cuddy? Yeah. The entrance to the Freelancer was so bad. Like, it just, like, it looked cool, but it did no. The Freelancer does need a rework. But to CIG's credit, they have not repeated the mistake of the Mustang beta. No ship has gotten worse in its rework in terms of its interior. That staircase thing, yeah, the staircase on the front landing gear. Yeah, that one. I did like the wing entrance to the cuddy. I did like that. The emergency exit style. I did like the bottom hole, the escape hole, which you just open up the bottom and you could jump out. It's the same similar hole exists on the Starfarer. When you go into the suit room, there's just like a hole you can jump out of. A similar thing. It was a cool concept. The landing gear stairway was a cool concept. But in practice, it was such a piece of shit. It was so bad. Oh, the old Cutlass had a space toilet with like tubes and everything. When do I think Pyro will be updated or released? 4.0. That's when CIG says Pyro's going to come out. I don't doubt that CIG will still release Pyro with 4.0. But when? I couldn't tell you. CIG has said they want to try to shoot for the end of the year. I'm not as optimistic. I would say the earliest would be next March, but I hope I'm wrong. That's all. We should upgrade to the old Hornet Mark 1s when we're at it. Well, the Hornet Mark 1s are what we see right now in the game. They've updated them a little bit from the old Mark 1 design, but in fact, the F7A Mark 1 is in game. It's not only in game, but it's being worked on for release in Squadron. It's mentioned multiple times in the progress reports and in the month reports that they're working on the Mark 1. So the Mark 1 does exist in the game files. Yeah, the Max, the escape hatch where you could go like to the left of where the co-pilot was. There's a little door you could exit and then get out into the wing. All right, I'm a little too hyped from that video. I've been in hype overdrive because Lionel Johnson's model is going to be released for 40K. It was announced last night, and they announced a new edition for Warhammer 40K. And again, to point out, pretty big Warhammer fan. Got some context as well. I have an entire Space Marine force that is partially primed and partially and assembled and fully assembled, ready for paint. And I've told myself that I wasn't going to do that Space Marine force until 10th edition was announced. So now that it's announced, when sometime in June or July is when I'll paint those boys up. So I had that going on, which was hyped me up so I didn't sleep much last night. Then CIG casually comes in just like, hey, here's component salvage. here's rearming your ships. Here's like freaking completely replacing the old ship like systems. It's just like, oh, and it's coming in 319 in June. It's like, one can be overhyped, okay? On this subject reminds me of a question I meant to ask at some point. Does the Hornet Tracker's dish actually do anything yet? No, it won't do anything until they update the new tracking systems and such. All right, so no bugs for 319, Paul. I don't think we can hope for no bugs for 319, but having 319 be done is just so nice. You get amazing DirecTV on it, yeah. Oh, right. It's not even June. It's in May, isn't it, Andrew? I kept saying it's because in my back of my brain for so long, I always thought that 319 was going to be a post ILW release, but I forgot CIG actually is planning on it for in May. So it's even worse because it's only in 2 months. Yeah, with Lorville coming, let's do this because we're gonna actually do this. The other thing I was gonna say is a little updates on some of the stuff that's gonna happen for the YouTube channel. For this YouTube channel, for the AstroPub Live, I'm gonna start doing one of the things I've been doing, waiting for more stability, is to do Smuggler's Guide. I'm gonna do 2 Smuggler's Guide. One is going to be a basic Smuggler's Guides, like how to choose your ships and what are the things you should be looking for. And the number 2, like your beginnings guides to smuggling. Number 2 is 318 specifically in what you do to make money for smuggling. It makes so good. It's so good. 318 is so good for smuggling. So those 2 videos will be filmed and edited and done probably sometime in April, like late March, early April, when I have some more time. And I'll also be doing more kind of speculative and introspective videos. So I'll do one on like engineering. I'll do one on the economy. I'll do one on like pyro and logistics and stuff like that, talking about like what the ships that are coming out and such, and how like what to expect and what do we know about these things and that sort of stuff. And so that's going to be coming out more over the summer. I'll experiment a little bit more, and then starting in the summer as well, we'll start to see. So I'll be honest, I was actually planning on a April Fool's joke, which was going to be me, not a joke, was going to be me doing the thing that I've been talking about for a while now, which is to do a noob's guide to the Warhammer 40k universe. Basically, something to be done for people who have no idea what Warhammer is, do not want to go into extensive detail early on, and just want to know if they like the universe or not. I was going to do a video and then maybe a few other videos just kind of talking about each faction and like what they are and some of their history, kind of little crib notes, 20, 30-minute videos, between 15 and like 30-minute videos about the whole thing. And I was going to do that with an April Fool's, but if you're like, oh, April Fool's, huh? It's like, no, I'm planning on doing this. But April 1st is 2 weeks away, and I've not done the research or have the time to do a lot of that stuff, so I'm probably going to end up doing that over the summer. So I'll be doing some of that as well. I'll also be doing some more speculative stuff onto Starfield. Starfield's coming out in September, so I'll be doing a little bit more like lore dives and inspections, like going frame by frame in the trailers and kind of really looking at the details and getting all of the lore bits out and talking a little bit more about the factions and the universe and what it looks like. And when Starfield is released, I'll be mixing in Starfield content in with Star Citizen. So in general, I'm going to be expanding beyond Star Citizen, but I will not leave Star Citizen. Star Citizen's still going to be my main focus. It's just there's a lot of cool stuff that's going around, and right now Star Citizen isn't really in a great place for lore, so I want to do that as well. But I don't want to ask. Don't want to ask Warhammer Geek for fear of being trapped in an uncomfortable conversation for hours. Yeah, effectively, gin and tonic, like. It's intimidating. I came back to the Warhammer universe after 12 years. I was in middle school when I last played Warhammer. And in 2020, I got back into it. Luckily, I'm a lore guy. I like lore of a lot of different games and franchises, and I love to dig into it. So I was able to pull a lot of that passion into Star Citizen, into 40K and doing that research. But the average person, as I've discovered from my Star Citizen lore stuff, doesn't have time to do those things. And while there's a lot of great content creators for Warhammer 40K, they don't really make approachable content. They make good content which are for beginners who are already all right, I'm in. I bought myself some Space Marines. Let's learn more about this universe. I don't see a lot of content which is so you learned that so you have a crush on Henry Cavill and you keep hearing him talk about this Warhammer thing. What is it? Or you watched the Game Awards and saw a trailer for this game called Space Marine. Your friend's playing this game called Dark Tide. That kind of that sort of person who is intrigued but not willing to pull out the credit card yet or really willing to dive into it. Are you sure it won't immediately trigger the algorithm to add you Warhammer 40K? It probably will. And the thing is that lore content will be on the Astro Historian. The issue that I was having before was that when I was doing the Galactic Historian stuff and the AstroPub stuff at the same time, the algorithm didn't know what the fuck to make of it. And I was dropping too many videos too quickly for it to really process everything. So making lore gaming content, that's a genre in YouTube. Star Citizen lore content is a part of that genre. So it shouldn't destroy the algorithm. It will expand the algorithm a little bit more and probably get me more views, more subscriptions, and more get more of my name out there. And this is the other thing that I'm pretty sure will happen if I'm careful about it, which I'll try to be, is if I can do it right, it'll get a lot of new eyes onto Star Citizen and Star Citizen lore specifically from people who may have not known about the game or really thought about it at all. We begin the tale with the Thatcher administration. So yeah, well, I do have different handle for other content. I have TheAstroPubLive, which is the one I have for right now that I'm streaming on right now, which also Captain's Table, and we'll have a little bit of other stuff, like the instructional videos and the other things I'll be talking about. So that all kind of fits with Star Citizen. And then I have the Astro Historian, which is where all my lore content is. So I had to send you the only meme I have for 40K, Paul. You send it to me on Discord?
Story chart. Have you seen the fucking glorious Horus Heresy timeline charts? What? No. Right.
God.
You want to read?
Oh God. Yeah, this is a great example. Hold on, let me pull this over.
The Horus Heresy chart. So, this is how their books fit together. Because they're not chronological. So if you story chart, have you seen the fucking glorious Horus Heresy timeline chart?
What? No.
Right. You want to read the Horus Heresy, Tom? So,
this is not a joke.
Because they're not chronological. So if you want to read certain plot lines in certain like chronological orders, it's all very easily contained in this fucking graph, right? So you start at the beginning with Horus rising.
You need a flow chart. And there are like 40 or 50 books in the the Horus Heresy series. And it's required information. To understand the universe of the Warhammer 40K universe, you need to read 50 books that are out of order, that you need a flow chart to put back into order to understand anything that's going on in a game set 10,000 years after the events. Just a little discouraging. Love your shows, man. Listen to them at work. It amps me up when I'm playing when I can. I'm glad to hear that, Soul Searcher. Battletech makes more sense, and that's saying a lot. Battletech is almost linear with its low required novels, yeah. So this is what I mean by, like, you don't need to have all of this information to be interested in the Warhammer 40K universe. But this is intimidating. That is very intimidating to, like, actually get into the universe. And this is a problem that CIG is handling with grace and style in comparison. The fact that we have a Galactopedia, when a lot of people say, "Oh, well, Paul, do you use the Galactopedia?" And I go, not really, but it's very important. Why? Because the Galactopedia actually fucking like collects this information. It's a super easy resource to use. It's an official wiki. Plus the two unofficial wikis do a good job of categorizing and chronicalizing the stuff that's not in the Galactopedia. But you don't need a flowchart to understand the history from 40 different books, which are 200 pages plus, to understand it. So yeah, so that's a reason why I think I will attempt the impossible and make a noob hammer video for lore. Like, what do you need? These are the basic things you need to understand. This is to help understand and shape the universe. These are the themes. These are the factions. This is all you need. I think I could do that in like 5 videos, which are all less than 20 minutes. Not stuff that I'm going to do extensively all over the place. I might dabble into it every so often, but just simple, to the point, easy to understand videos to get the people who have a passing interest in this thing called Warhammer to understand the universe. Simple and easy. All I really needed to know is who the God Emperor was, what happened according to lore, what possibly happened in reality, and the reason behind the tear and the warp, at least for Darktide. That's a good example. And that's the other thing is to maybe make a video for whenever a 40K video game comes out and kind of be like, this is the background that you need to know. These are the things you need to know to understand some of the more in-depth stuff about the game. So for instance, I could explain that in a couple of seconds for Darktide, which is the God Emperor is the leader. They call him the Master of Mankind. He's the leader of humanity. He unified humanity after a great disaster known as the Age of Strife, where humanity's empire, big, technologically advanced empire collapsed, and he was able to reforge it. Not perfect, but reforge it. He's this literal god figure. He was basically a god. And he was betrayed by his own sons and was several of his own sons and was critically wounded and now sits on what's called the Golden Throne that keeps him alive. And the sons themselves were corrupted by gods known as the Chaos Gods, the gods of the warp. These are evil, or not evil, but like forces of nature that try to, undo everything. They vie for power and control. They spread chaos. And in the universe of Darktide, you play as a member of the armies of the Imperium of the God Emperor of Mankind, who were convicted of some sort of crime, which can be for anything, because the God Emperor of Mankind it's dictatorial, it's fascistic. And this, you're fighting in a time after this giant rift in time and space opened that connects like our galaxy to the warp, to the effectively hell dimension where all of these chaos gods live. And you're fighting these cultists who were corrupted by the chaos gods. I just did that in 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. Very easy. You don't even need to know that he requires 10,000 psychics a day to survive. That's not required information to understand who the God Emperor of Mankind is. CIG should hire you to create more Star Citizen lore. I'd love that, but I know CIG has some talented writers who are doing a great job on their own. They're like Entropy Main Manifest. I mean, literally, some of them use literal entropy cannons, so... Hey, Detonator. Welcome back. Will this include reading all the books? I'm not going to read all the books, no. Battletech is publishing a universe book like that. Yeah, and I think Star Citizen should as well. Like, the point of me doing the complete history of Star Citizen lore, that long-running series that I'm doing, is to take all that information that CIG has and condense it into a timeline. Will it be perfect? No. Will it have absolutely everything that will ever be in the lore? No. But it's going to get as much information as I have now, and it's available, crammed together, so that you can effectively know how the timeline started all the way up to where we are now. All of the major flares, all the figures. Now, that's going to be not simplified. I've already done that in simplification. I've done that twice, in fact, for Star Citizen lore. But that is to give you a more in-depth analysis. But if you want a more in-depth analysis, if you want a more in-depth analysis for like 40K, there are plenty of great story channels and content creators out there that do that. Which is why I don't want to seek to do that, because that's just like, why would I try to beat Luton in an analysis battle? It's no point. Just let Luton do what it does. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me doing stuff like that if I actually did it, but who cares, you know? The April Fools can be just reading out lore posts rather than summarizing it. Have I read any of the books? The Battletech books? No. Just the 40K books I have. That's another thing I'd like to see CIG do, is actually make books, like write books for publishing, but... graphics and the graphic novels would be good, yeah. For Star Citizen, I think CIG could go for a novelization of the history with, following several key characters through the history of mankind, from the quantum drive all the way, from the invention of the quantum drive all the way up to modern days. And I think CIG could have those books from different perspectives of each era, and do like kind of a passing of the torch where, the characters will show up in one book, which will be in another book, and they'll be the main character of another book, and continue down. That's kind of thing. You can do a lot of fun stuff with that, and you could probably do that in 10 books. Like, easy. Gives a lot of stuff too. I just bought the complete works of Heinlein. Looking forward to reading those in the Virginia collection. Complete works of Heinlein is going to be a big one because he wrote a lot of short stories. Star Citizen novelization would be fantastic. Currently reading the Lost Fleet series. A lore graphic novel would be dope. I mean, you could easily, if you've seen the Animatrix or Halo Legends, where they have those like animated shorts that tell you the entire history of the universes in like 2 episodes, 2 like 10-minute episodes. CIG could do that easy. Like I summarized the entirety of the Star Citizen lore universe in broad strokes in like less than 10 minutes. So I don't know if Star Citizen fans and anime are necessarily the best combination. Star Citizen fans tend to be a little on the older side and a little less, a little more hesitant of animations. I'm sorry, Chuka. Something cheesy like the BattleTech. You mean something cheesy like the Wing Commander series, animated series? You like both and you're 40. Well, the point is I think my audience is a little different than the average Star Citizen audience member player. But I've had more than a few people comment on whenever we have a VTuber show up. It's like, what's this anime bullshit on my screen? Like, so it's a VTuber? So. Who would dare be a VTuber? Oh, I'm talking about like comments that were on your episode. Like, who's this anime shit person on my stream? I don't know what the hell's going on. It's like, dude, have you been on the internet in the last like 10 years? VTubers are not a new phenomena. They've existed for like almost a decade now. For some reason, it feels like most of the people I play Star Citizen with were or are in the military, mostly the Navy. There's a lot of military members. Star Citizen's demographic tends to be older folks, military or ex-military, tech-oriented people who are heavily involved in tech in some way, shape, or form. And like, I don't know how to say this correctly, but like, disgruntled PC gamers. I tend to be in that last one. People who either found PC gaming recently or left PC gaming and came back and were not okay with the state of PC gaming. Like in 2012, the games that I played the most were Kerbal Space Program and DayZ. Like, both of those games were tiny little indie games, even though there was great titles of for on PC before then. It just nothing really interested me, especially because a lot of it was like console ports. And that's why one of the reasons why Star Citizen did so well. Nostalgia gamers. Yeah, there's a lot of people who played Star Wars Galaxies. Like, I found out today that one of the gameplay lead designers for CIG actually talked about how he was a producer on Independence War 2. And he's like, it's such a like a forgotten game, a little game, didn't do so well financially. And when I saw that, I was like, I've been berated by at least 3 different people about ILW and its IW2 and its connections to Star Citizen and how they want for Star Citizen. Yeah, so there's UK dude. There's so many people. Like when they were saying like it didn't do so well, I'm like, the people who purchased it are all Star Citizen backers. Like every single one of them is just a Star Citizen backer right now. And there's a lot of people who see Star Citizen as the successor to Star Wars Galaxies in terms of immersive sandbox MMOs. I escaped from Tarkov, and a friend said, "Well, Star Citizen has some similar mechanics, and death death means buy gear." Gear fear, don't have it, baby. The demographics is older for Star Citizen, but it is skewing to the younger generation. More than a few people I know who are probably watching right now and in chat right now are under the age of 25. Now, very rarely have I seen somebody under the age of 18 who plays Star Citizen. Most people who are on the younger generations, the Zoomer, Gen Z generation, or young millennials, are like they tend to be the ones. You don't really see a lot of that. Your son plays 86, but you introduced him to the game. Trin, right? Well, Paul, your kids will have your Redeemer when you fly after Star Citizen's released. That's true. But I mean, like, kids who were not introduced through their parents to it. I've been assisting new players randomly in servers. Most seem to be in their early 20s. Yeah, that's my point. Like, I've seen like a lot of the content creators we see who started playing the game in the last 2 years are in their early 20s. Like, I've had let me make you all feel old, especially if you're like me who've been around for a long time. A lot of the top content creators who make content right now in Star Citizen were teenagers, young teenagers when Star Citizen was kickstarted. Some as young as 12 when Star Citizen was kickstarted. Thank you, Unlimited. Thank you for watching the lore series. You consider me a youngling. I think the majority of the new backers over the last 3 years are younger people, are in their early 20s. People who are getting out of college and getting into their first careers and able to afford a PC, because many of them may have been raised on the allure of Star Citizen as this mythical game that may exist someday, or just happen to fall into it because it crosses over well with the Tarkov crowd, and the Tarkov crowd tends to be pretty young. So I feel young. Does that count? I don't feel 36. I don't know what 36 is supposed to feel like, but yes, I know. I am well aware. I see my metrics. I know how old y'all are in general. It's probably because Star Citizen is starting to come together and in an amazing form, and the media isn't bashing the hell out of it as much. It's harder to do with Star Citizen actually introducing more gameplay. Majority of accounts, now the majority of accounts were made after December 2019. Yeah. All right. So we're coming up on 3 hours. It's good, but the average day created accounts would be an interesting metric. CIG has actually told us that the Star Citizen is at like 1.3 or 1.8 million playable, like purchased accounts. So like I think it has like 4 million accounts, but like of those, only half of them have actually purchased the game. But like 800,000. It was either 3 and 8 in my brain. Kind of gets mixed up sometimes. I have to look it up again. But like almost half of that number is from 2020 and beyond, like from January 2020 and forward. Like, that's nuts. I will say that I had no trust over the project until I played it. As let's say most people. That's why the free flights are great. Because free flights tell a lot of people, like someone who will try, if someone says, hey, Star Citizen's free to play, come join me for a couple of sessions with the expectation that it's broken and buggy, but see if you like it. People will join, they'll have fun, or they'll see it's broken, but they leave. And then they'll come, that happens again, they come back and they see the improvements that are made and they go, wow, this game's actually getting better. Those problems, but it's getting better. It's improving. More things are being added. The performance is better. I feel like a better game now. And free flights are a great tool that CIG uses. I'm 37 and never heard about it until 3 months ago. You're a year older than I am, and yeah. A few people are spoofing referral bonuses, I assume. I'm sure, but I don't think it's like, I would guess that's less than 1% of people who have like referral bonuses. Like I have 3 accounts, which I shouldn't be admitting because CIG could ban me for having multiple accounts. But to be fair, I use those other accounts for gameplay, for content creation purposes, not for other things. And I publicly use them for that purpose. So like three of those accounts are just me. 3 of that 1.8 million is just me, but the Scam Citizen crowd is what got me to look into the game and do research. Now I'm here. There's no such thing as bad press, as long as they spell your name right. All right. With that all being said, I'm going to do a short, I don't know if I'll actually use this as a capsule. I mean, not because it's not really that great. Like to give you a concept, the Delta tracker for progress tracker for this last update was 12. 12 things got updated. And the roadmap roundup added the thing we already know about, which is tractor beams, attach and detach. So it's not a huge, but like update. So I don't know if I should bother doing one, but I might do it anyways. Just, that kind of stuff. Anyways, those of you who haven't seen me do these capsules, these are little sections that I will do recorded for YouTube specifically for after the fact. I pull it out and I put it in an editing software and I kind of add some stuff around it. And then I release it as a standalone video. The idea being that not everyone necessarily gets to watch all 3 to 4 hours of my content through live streams. And they want those little sections of news. And so I try to pull out the stuff that I think is the most important news or the stuff that I find that's interesting beyond the let's watch ISE and that kind of thing stuff. So your definition of not great is what others call acceptable. It's fine. It's just not good for content is my point. The tractor beam thing is significant for sure, but that requires its own video of breaking down all of that stuff, not like a roadmap stuff. But all right, starting the recording. All right, I'll answer this one first. What really annoys me about the game is it seems a lot of unknown direction of it. The community seems to be like, server meshing will change everything, or PS is a huge step, but there are a lot of unknowns with how the game will play once beta. There are some unknowns, but just because they're unknowns doesn't mean there aren't plans. Generally speaking, I can tell you how the game will play. The game will play. This is a game of planning. It's a game of planning and action. Your actions have consequences. So let's just say a typical session will be you wake up in a hab. You may own it, you may rent it, or you may wake up in a ship that you had before. Doesn't matter. So first time in the game, you hop in, you will have a 30-minute to an hour tutorial section, which will be skippable, which you can use that will teach you the basics of the game. Eventually, that'll get you to your ship. You'll be able to get to your ship in your hangar, fly, and go off and do missions. Those missions are going to be generated by the background AI, and will be some missions will be kind of hopped up and they'll be different. You'll see different, like if you're doing cargo missions, it'll be a little bit different. Combat missions, they'll all vary depending on the background simulation and what it wants to do. And once you've done those missions and kind of played those things, you can earn money. That money, you will also be earning reputation if you're doing missions for specific organizations. Those organizations are connected to other organizations, but also are rivals with other organizations. So as you do missions or favors for groups in the universe, you'll gain infamy with other groups in the universe. So you'll lock yourself out of certain gameplay loops, or certain gameplay like locations, and focus you more on one area. That doesn't mean it's a hard focus. You can always go back to it. But because it's a sandbox, you can always do what you want to do. Star Citizen isn't going to change that much from the current gameplay loop we have now. The major difference is it's going to add more complexity. Right now, it's just fly to a location, do mission, come get money, get back. But in the future, that will make sure your ship is functional, inspect your components, to make sure everything's good, do maintenance or repairs as you need to, fly to a location, scan more frequently for hostiles or objectives, do an objective. They may be linked to multiple objectives or just a single objective. Do that, finish that mission, and then maybe you have to return an item, maybe you have to go somewhere else. But like you can do now, but it's not going to change that much. The difference is going to be the depth of the gameplay. It won't be as shallow as we see it now. The most important thing you said so far is you'll try to be a YouTuber. I'm not going to be that's going to be a joke. It's going to be an April Fool's joke at some point. I won't change my voice. No, just see like this. Do you think we'll be able to constantly grab gear from loot boxes from outposts? It's convenient, but I see no need for really buy anything other than ammo at this point. Yes and no. The loot tables will generate a little bit differently. That's one of those things where, like right now, the game in the future, when you die, you lose your gear, but you'll have the ability to insure your gear or some other means to get back that gear easier. But it will have a timer attached to it or some other delay tactic because your actions have consequences. Will you be able to pick up that armor? Sometimes. It really depends on where you are. The loot tables are going to get a little bit more diverse. And as the game gets bigger, there won't be as much of a need to have constant like dopamine stuff scattered everywhere. You're much more likely to see in loot boxes actual equipment like components, subcomponents, batteries, ammunition, medical supplies, food, rather than armor pieces. You may see some armor pieces laying around, and you may be able to scavenge armor pieces off of dead bodies. Like we probably almost will be able to do that. But it won't be like everywhere. Gotcha. I've been playing the game for a while now. Like, I still don't understand if I can take my kind to the pyro system. Yes. Effectively, the only ships which will not be able to go to the pyro system are ships without jump points or jump drives. And there are very few ships without jump drives. Every ship with a jump drive can go to another system. Yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the way you see Star Citizen now is mostly going to remain the same. The difference is it's going to be harder. Death is going to be more impactful. Your actions will have more consequences, good and bad. And planning will be required. So they're going to have to plan a lot more when you're doing things. So, like I said, what we have now, but add more depth. It's not just getting your ship to fly away. It's do the startup sequence, make sure everything's on and working, and then fly away. Or run go through your stats to make sure that all of your components are functioning, and you check your fuel gauges. And it's not going to be like DCS where you're doing all these switches and buttons and all that kind of stuff, but it's going to be like it'll take you an additional minute to leave your hangar compared to what you do before once you understand it all. But that will also have more depth in gameplay as you're going forward, because your shield generators will eventually burn out and you'll have to replace them or replace subcomponents inside them. Combat is going to be a little bit more complicated because if you get hit in the right location, you may be dead in the water. Not dead, but dead in the water, similar to how we have soft death, that kind of thing. So like the red cases at Siege or platform missions are which are food and this other sorted goods. Yeah, effectively that. The game's not going to suddenly turn into a puzzle platformer, is what I'm trying to say. It's just what we have now is a blurry image of what the final game's going to be. And as Star Citizen begins to sharpen what it's going to be, it's more of taking what we have now and becoming more of upping the difficulty, but also increasing the safety nets to make it so that it doesn't hurt as much, but it still hurts. Wait, Star Citizen is a looter shooter? Not really. A looter shooter implies that you only get gear from loot and other things from doing missions, which is not the way it works. Star Citizen is much more of a survival game mixed with a realistic sim. One thing I will say is I wish I had a planet or moon in each system that has no comm array with bigger derelict locations that groups can control useful resources that would spawn. It would create a PvP for those areas without hassle dealing with prison. So you're saying pyro. That's basically what you're saying is pyro. That's what pyro is. Not every system's going to have one, but there will be multiple systems that have that sort of situation. But there will also be higher risks. Not going to prison, sure, but no one's going to save you. You're going to be, you won't be able to get picked up, and if you die, you're going to have a lot more hurt. Yeah, but they should have that in the system we have now. They don't really want to, and they probably won't, because they don't need to. That's the reason why they have different systems where you can go travel to those. They do want to have systems like Stanton, which are more safe for people to use. So, all right, let's get to this. Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right. Capsule. Not stopping that. This is a little section of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Come join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive. I forgot to do those things as well because people will do those sorts of stuff. My bad. But I'm going to try that again. I'll start again because I forgot to do that. All right. Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right. Not changing that. Capsule. This is a live stream that I do on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about Star Citizen. We talk about the latest news, latest lore, hang out and chat. See the chat right here. So this is just a section of that to give you a taste, to maybe entice you to come join us live on Thursdays to hang out and talk. Or even watch the full stream after the case of the VOD, which will still be up right now, to learn more about what we talked about. Today, we're doing another one of our looks at the roadmap roundups, the roadmap updates for Star Citizen. The last two I did were very well received, and this one is pretty big. So it's big, but in small ways, because it's not a lot of changes, but there's some major stuff that was added. And as always, if you're enjoying this content, if this is not your first time here, make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon for more information, to know when these come up, as that helps me out a lot as well. And comment down below your own thoughts or questions down below. As always, I'd love to hear your feedback if this is helpful, if you want me to continue to do these. Without any further ado, though, let's get into the roadmap roundup for 3/22/2023. All right. Roadmap Roundup 3/22/2023, 1 a.m. Notable changes from March 22nd. Release View. The following card has been added to Alpha 319 column on Release View. Tractor Beam, Attach and Detach. This iteration of the Tractor Beam gameplay will add functionality to the Tractor Beam attachment of Multi-Tool, allowing it to detach and attach items from ship item ports. This functionality can either be used for component exchange, replacement or restocking rockets, or salvage other ships. This was big. There was an entire ISC that was released after this, but this has been mentioned in the monthly reports as well. This is coming out with 319, and a reminder, 319 is coming out in May before ILW, before Invictus launch week. So it's only going to be a couple of months before this is out. This entirely replaces the current loadout tool that's on the Mobi-Glass. Instead of having a clunky menu that you have to click through, now everything's going to be diegetic. It'll be in-game. You'll actually be able to pick up a weapon and attach it to your ship, pick up missiles, attach it to your ship. Now, I don't know if it'll fully replace the menu early on, because I still don't know how you'll buy a weapon and then how you're going to access that weapon. Where will it spawn? Where will it end up? Because it'll end up in your inventory. You have to pull it out of your inventory and drop it or something like that. It's hard to tell. We don't know 100% how that's going to work. But this is a big deal, because this doesn't just expand the gameplay of Salvage, but this expands the gameplay of Restock, Repair, and multiple other gameplay loops. This allows you for things like being able to restock your ballista at Jump Town. So you can have a ballista that is constantly being reloaded with new missiles, so it doesn't have to leave. It means that you have a better defense platform. It allows for people to set up things like logistics bases for missiles, weapons, repair. As with 318, you do some minor repair in the hull with the repair tools. And of course, refueling has been in for a while. Having a Starfarer loitering around, be able to refuel your ships. It's fantastic. It's amazing. This is a huge update for what is effectively and derisively often called a very small update in terms of its content. This is going to add a lot of gameplay value to the overall game. But this is only part of the story. Release View is great, but the progress tracker is the real thing. It's the thing that CIG wants us to look at, which will tell us what CIG is building at any given time. So let's take a look at this nice tool called Shiny Tracker, which does a Delta report that tells us all the changes that happened in the progress tracker. All right, so one deliverable was removed. Last scheduled from 2022 11/20 to 2023 3/17, unannounced vehicle. The following teams have been freed up: the vehicle feature team, vehicle content US, 2 tech content, and had 3 tasks, and the vehicle content EU. So one of the unannounced ships has been tabled or been removed. It could be finished, but we don't know. Usually if it's finished, it remains on there. So it's obviously something's happened. Sometimes this happens unintentionally. So as it says here, not all removals are intentional. There are currently a bug in time to enter the progress tracker that can cause deliverables to disappear. So this could have happened, but it's hard to tell. Cave archetypes. This just was added 13 days of work. So we had 2 new art devs with two new tasks to decrease the load. So they added a few more days of work. Then we have Charge Drain Tier 0. This end date has been extended to March, and it was revealed to 14 days of work with one art dev with 1 task, so kind of increasing that. Fire Hazard, this has been extended to March. They added 1 tech designer, 2 art devs with 4 tasks, and 3 engineers with 12 tasks from the VFX team. And then the Lorville Cityscape added 41 days of work with the VFX team. So they didn't change the date, just added more work. Then we have the Hull C. This was increased to March of 2023, and the VFX team was assigned, revealing 7 days of work with 1 art dev giving 2 tasks. So somebody in the past, in the last one we did, it says, what's the purpose of this? So what we're looking at here is the actual changes. These are all things that have been changed in the progress tracker, either changed the dates, got removed from the tracker, whatever. So these are the things they're actually working on. And as we see these change, we're starting to see what is prioritizing, what CIG is prioritizing. So cave archetypes added more people, charge drain extended a little bit. So even though it's in the past, we still get to understand a little bit more that it's being worked on right now. And it's still in the process. And Lorville Cityscape is set for 319, so that makes sense that they're kind of working on it really hardcore. The new player experience was added. VFX team added was assigned, revealing 27 more days of work. So this is important as well. This is coming in 319 as well. So we're seeing a lot more VFX stuff being pushed in there. Be fascinating to see the March monthly report when that comes out in 2 weeks, because I've assumed that we're going to see a lot of VFX work happening. Pyro system and mission setup, planet and mission setup. The VFX team added 28 days of work with 3 art devs and 4 tasks. The quantum travel experience added 56 days of work with the VFX team, so it looks like a lot of VFX stuff. 1 art dev with 3 tasks and 1 engineering dev with 4 tasks. Then the RSI links was added to the R319 release view. So that was added last week, but it's just finally made it in here. Salvage vehicle munching. This was a VFX team added, or was assigned, revealing 7 days of work with 1 art dev and 2 tasks. You can notice that the vehicle munching is still at 3/28/2023. So the end of March is when there's this work on vehicle munching is being finished up. We also know from the monthly report that vehicle munching is going well in hand as well. So some of this stuff likely at this point is not going to make it to 319. It could, but wouldn't be surprised if it happened shortly after a possible 320 patch or 4.0 when that comes out. An unannounced vehicle had assigned for more vehicle content team. The EU and the US content team and the vehicle feature team was assigned, revealing, and the vehicle VFX team was added time. So this is the one that's been adding. It sounds like they're adding a new ship with new functionality, a new gameplay loop, possibly entirely, with this unannounced vehicle that they've mentioned. This is the same one they've been messing around with a little bit. It's been around for since August of last year. And lastly, vehicle tractor beams. Now, this is set to finish in June. So while 319 won't have vehicle tractor beams, it's not too far off. We're likely going to see vehicle tractor beams of some kind, or at least an update to it, and more information about it in July. Because a lot of the other stuff, including the SRV, is functionally done at this point. So that's really not it. That's really it. There's not a lot of else stuff changed, but a lot of new VFX work being added to several things that are already in production and some other kind of slightly changed delivery dates. So it's a short update, but a pretty important one. Some fundamental changing in how Star Citizen is going to play in terms of removing functionality from the Mobiglass and focusing it more on diegetic gameplay, attaching hard weapons and equipment to hard points and possibly even use that for salvage in the future and repair, and all sorts of new gameplay opportunities which will be opening up soon. As always, I want to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. Let me know, and I'll do my best to respond, and if I should just keep doing these things, even if we have kind of shorter updates like this. Always helpful to let me know. And join us live on Thursdays at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub. Remember to follow us on Twitch, subscribe here on YouTube, and like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black. Listen, not big, but, you know, it works. Oh, yeah, it's May. My bad. I said June. I get June and May mixed up. No. May is 5th month. June is 6th, and that was June. June 19th, yeah. This is a 19th month. Or are you talking about Luckless Breeder? Are you talking about 319? The fuck happened? Okay. Breaking news. CIG updated a ton of stuff. So this was updated at 9 p.m. today. A bunch of Galactopedia stuff got updated. So like the Militia Mobilization Initiative got updated. In addition to initiative efforts besides subsidies for bulk purchasing of weaponry, the Aegis Dynamics Eclipse Bomber and RSI Polaris are made available for civilian market in this effort. Let's see if there much has changed from that. The public order states it's intended to embolden the general public to help defend the Empire. Maybe that's what they did. Human Xi'an Cold War. This was also updated. It was sparked from the first contact between civilizations in 2530 when human terraforming company acting illegally attempted to set up operations in the Xi'an system. Were captured by the Xi'an, who discovered them there. Though there was no large-scale combat between the sides, bordering planetary systems became militarized zones. The Cold War formally ended with the signing of Perryline Pact in 2793. I don't think much of that has changed. Maybe they added some of the founding stuff like this, the founding of 2687. Ooh. Brand new Interstellar Peace Treaty. A developing system is a planetary system under the protection of the Fair Chance Act. While under this designation, the United Empire of Earth (UEE) acts as stewards and protectors for the system to allow the planets that harbor sentient or potentially sentient life to develop without outside influence. In order to be granted this protected status, the beings in this system must not have yet achieved spaceflight. Contact with system's inhabitants, along with terraforming and mining of any kind, is prohibited. And the Fair Chance Act was updated as well. Passed by the Senate in 2795. I think that's new. In the wake of the Garen Massacre, 2792, sponsored by Imperator Aaron Toy, it created a new status for planetary systems, developing system, and added several protections to said systems in order to foster the development of potentially new civilizations. One or more planets in a given system must harbor sentient or potentially sentient life in order to be declared developing. Contact with the system's inhabitants, terraforming, and mining are prohibited in order to shield the inhabitants from any interference under the assumption that they grow to the point of space travel. They can officially be contacted. Lawrence Bishop, 2880 to the present. So if he was born in 2880, that means it's 2950 or 2945 is when Squadron 42 starts. So he's only in his 50s. They originally said he was going to be like in his hundreds, but he's only 50. Am I right in that? My calculations and stuff. Oh yeah, this is the Galactopedia. This is the official Star Citizen wiki for lore. So that's what you're seeing here. Yeah, so I have a bot, a tracker bot, that scrapes all of the updates made for the website for Star Citizen. It's called Tracker SC. It's a great tool. You can add it to your Discord, which I've been using, and it has this weird quirk where whenever something is updated in terms of the Galactopedia, it'll tell me the update before CIG announces it. So I did come very late to the stream. Everyone is 65 right now in his late 60s. Yeah. Lore, indeed lore. Just interesting that it was updated. Yeah, coming towards the end of the stream, I'm gonna call it here because I only got about 4 hours of sleep because of Warhammer again. Warhammer. I wasn't painting last night, but I was watching and following stuff. So I gotta get some sleep. I'll be up tomorrow. We'll be doing some Zero to Hero if we can make it. We can get it to work. We'll do Zero to Hero tomorrow. Maybe we'll see 3.8.1 or 3.18.1 come out, but. Yes, we did discuss the new tractor beam. We watched the video twice and we talked a lot about the implications of everything. So, all right, y'all. Like I say every time. Oh wait, I'll see you tomorrow. Saturday we actually have Tree 0311 and Atira Kell, who will be hanging out with us. We're going to be talking about the hurry up and wait syndrome of Star Citizen. So the topic of the Captain's Table for Saturday is, does Star Citizen respect your time? And how can they respect your time? So we'll talk about the wasted time that CIG forces us to waste time and stuff, that kind of stuff. So, and I figure it's a good talk to Atira and Tree, who are both in the military and have that experience of, if anyone was heard of hurry up and wait, where you have to prepare for everything and then you just wait for something to happen. And you're often stuck doing nothing while entirely prepared and ready to do stuff. So they'll kind of their own experiences in the private life, in the public sector, in the military, and in private life for that sort of thing. So maybe you should get different guests then. And Sunday we'll probably do some more Zero to Hero if I can make it work. And then next week we'll be doing some other stuff. But tomorrow morning I also have to get up super early. I'm going to be getting up in about 5 hours, 5.5 hours, because I'm going to be on the next Tomato Talks or next Space Tomatoes podcast. I'll be on recording the podcast with him tomorrow. We'll be talking about Star Citizen and Starfield and some other stuff too. So, Allison, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about military, hurry up and wait. Yeah. All right, y'all. Thanks again. Love your faces. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.